How's everybody doing? Tonight, I'm excited about this show. I'm Vulcan, aka Logos, and we're going to be going over a video that's pretty important to me. You got two opposing sides talking about racism, talking about what is racism, talking about white supremacy, and I really think that y'all going to enjoy the show today. So tune in. Make sure you got your notepads and your pen out. We're going to dig into it. This is not going to be a superficial how I got you moment. This is not going to be just for having fun and sensationalism. This is going to be a little bit more cerebral tonight. So let's get into it.
Yes, one of the themes and one of the bedrocks of the shows we like to evaluate and look at people debating. So today, our future episode is with two guys. One of them is named Tariq Nasheed. He's a New York best time selling author. He is the creator of Hidden Colors, and he is debating a gentleman named. His name is Andrew Schultz, a comedian. The other half of the Brilliant Idiots podcast. So, y'all ready to get into it?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, let's get into it.
Also, want to remind you to go to brilliantidiotsmerch.com. Order you a nice hoodie, order you some socks, order you a nice t-shirt. Brilliantidiotsmerch.com. Thank you for your support. And please also go to Amazon or Barnes & Nobles.
That's too fast.
And pre-order my upcoming.
I'm sorry.
It's too fast. It's fast enough for what he's talking about. Not even into the topic yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. This one I'm at 1.5. We can do 1. We can do 1.25.
Book Black Privilege Opportunity comes to those who create it. Wherever you buy your books online, go pre-order for your boy now. Okay. All right, now let's get to the conversation with Tariq Nasheed. Salute to Tariq Nasheed. Good brother right there.
Okay. What's up? It's Andrew Schultz. I am here right now with Tariq Nasheed.
What's going on, Schultz?
How you doing? It's suspected white supremacist Andrew Schultz here with Tariq Nasheed. We're waiting on Charlamagne. Charlamagne's in the other room finishing up, but we're going to get started because we only have Tariq here for a short amount of time. We only have Tariq here for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Man, it's my pleasure.
I listened to you on Tax yesterday.
Yeah.
You are talented.
Thank you, my brother.
I don't say that about anybody. I don't know if you listen to this podcast, but I'm very, seldomly bestow that compliment on people. You have a gift.
Thank you.
You're a great communicator. Very, very good communicator. And I'm listening to this episode, and really funny episode. Everybody should go check it out.
Yeah.
And I found myself agreeing with you on many points and actually doing some research to check certain things out.
Anything you disagree with?
Certain things that I, not necessarily. Yes, there's definitely things I disagreed with, but it was more like principal disagreements. There's certain things I want to start out with just that I agree with you, like the Susan B. Anthony thing. I thought was very interesting. I wasn't familiar, and you brought up this idea that Susan B. Anthony is lauded as this amazing feminist,
right,
when in reality she was also racist.
Racist.
Very racist. I mean, we have to judge things contextually, right? So for the time, maybe she wasn't as racist as people who were beating the shit out of slaves and stuff.
All right, I'm gonna try 1.5, y'all. Let me know if y'all want to do this speed.
Stuff like that, but she was racist in terms of she didn't want to put black men's ability to vote in front of women's ability to vote for the 15th Amendment.
And her argument was because black people were inferior.
She said she could live in a society where they were inferior.
Y'all good with this?
I can keep up with it. I think we'll be audience.
All right.
So do y'all think it sounds good for the audience or no?
So
I think the 1.25 is not bad.
All right, let's do that. What about you, Vulcan?
I'm gonna go with y'all on this one. Yeah, I'm gonna go with y'all on this.
Oh,
I don't know what speed were we at just now. Was it 2.25 or was it 1.5?
We was at 1.5. We started off at 1.25. Now we was on 1.5. So
okay, so let's go back to 1. Let's see what 1.25 is.
All right, we go back to that. All right, let's get back.
inferior. She could live in a society where the Saxon ruled over the African. She could live in a society where the rich ruled over the poor. She could live in a society where the educated ruled over the uneducated, but she couldn't live in a society where men ruled over women. And regardless, still racist.
Right, but yeah, okay.
Can't deny. I mean, there were several things I was listening to that I definitely agreed on, and there are other things that I disagreed on. And it was I'm listening and I'm like, I'm going, okay, I wonder, and I mean this when I say you are a gifted fucking communicator, and I wonder if you suffer from a lack of competition. I wonder if, you know how like Jordan needed the Pistons to reach peak Jordan, you know, and like Magic and Bird needed each other, and you know, all greats need somebody to push them to expose their greatness. And I wonder if you're so good at making arguments seem completely understandable, completely believable, that the person that you're arguing with isn't challenging you enough. And I felt like, and I remember thinking in certain ways, like when you were talking about white supremacy, I was like, how do I explain it? Are you blinded by white supremacy in terms, like where you're missing maybe the actual root cause of an issue?
Well, blinded. That's interesting. Blinded by white supremacy.
Meaning like you're so committed to proving white supremacy, which we can absolutely acknowledge. In certain instances, is the indicator is the root cause. In certain. Okay. But I think in other ones it might not be.
Okay. Now let's define what white supremacy is.
Yeah, that's important.
That's very important.
What is white supremacy to you, or how do you see it? As
Well, just the basic definition to the people who implemented the system of white supremacy. It's groups of people classified as white who dominate, control, and mistreat groups of people classified as non-white. Right. So that's the working definition. That's always pretty much been the definition of what white supremacy is. It's a group phenomenon. Right. And what happens a lot of times, people put black folks in token positions and say, hey, there's a black guy right there, so there's no white supremacy. There's two black kids going to that school, so it's not segregated. No white supremacy. It's integrated because there's two black people right there.
When would that school become integrated?
See, I don't even use the word integration.
Or what word you would like to use?
We have white supremacy or we don't. And
when would it not be at 12% when the population?
You can't quantify white supremacy by little intangible numbers.
Because, no, I picked 12% because black people are 12% of the American population. So if it reflected the American population of blacks, would that be considered? We don't have.
Before I get into my elucidation, how do I feel about the speed? So y'all still feel good about the speed?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Actually good. Okay. So yeah. So one thing I'm noticing immediately is Andrew Schultz. What he's doing is, okay, how many people need to be in the school before we would consider it to not be, white supremacy? He's trying to establish that at the beginning. Tariq here doesn't go for it. He doesn't give him a number. He says we can't do things little numbers like this. The issue with this, obviously, is you can't manage what you can't measure. You can't manage what you can't measure. So Andrew Schultz is asking Tariq to quantify what he's talking about to some extent. And here you see Tariq not wanting to do that. That makes the conversation very difficult. So let's see if it's okay if you're going to shift from, I'm not going to quantify the issue in this area, but I'll give you some quantification in this other area. Let's see if he does that. Because if he doesn't do that, then where's the conversation going to go? That's what the audience think about that.
Well, he's giving when he's not allowing you to quantify those things, he's essentially as an issue that can't be fixed or that is bigger than quote unquote. So where is the end in sight? What's the plan? He's creating an unbeatable villain, which, I mean, if I'm Tariq Nasheed, this is going to give me a forever opponent. Mm-hmm. this is gonna be a forever source of income because I'm beat my arms against white supremacy without ever coming up with any sort of quantifiable solution or way to win. Mm-hmm. Black people. And here's the thing: the problem is, I've never heard not just. Well,
I am Captain Negro.
I don't know if he's even Captain Negro because he's not. Where's the solutions? Mm-hmm. Where are we saying this is how we fix it? If you can't even say, early. Well, here's the problem.
It's early,
right?
It's early in the interview.
That's Yeah, get off my cousin, man.
My FBA brother.
Yeah,
Not too much. Not too much of a... All right, let's get back to the video.
Yes, sir.
Have to use integrated, but not white supremacy.
Well, see, the problem was not black people being in a certain capacity. That wasn't the issue. Because black people, we've always lived around white people. On slavery, we lived right in the homes of white people, right in the back of them. So was that integration? You see, integration is a trick word. It's white supremacy.
No, I'm saying you said if there's one or two, it's a token. So I'm going, what % of representation does it become not a token, but in fact, the exact representation that it should reflect of the population?
When there's equal treatment and equal resources for the group. You got it?
But if there's like 12% black people, should there be 50% of the, should there be 70% of the resources going to 12% of black people because there's 70% white people? You see how it's confusing? Like, shouldn't your resources be dictated by the percentage of your population? If there's 2% Indians in America, they shouldn't get 50% of the education budget. Well, they should get 2%.
Well, you can have a white school on one side of town and a black school on one side of town. The white school is getting all the resources, all the money, and all the funding, and the black school that's 100% black is getting almost 75% less than that. So that's not
here's
integration or segregation. That's just white supremacy.
But is that white supremacy, or is that how we divide up education dollars based on taxes?
Taxes. Okay.
Taxation.
Let's look at the taxation.
Right.
So it's not about race, it's about taxation.
I'm saying is that, like, here's an example where we could be blind and we could make something a race issue when it's actually a taxation issue. If we take a wealthy black neighborhood or a wealthy black area in America that has a very high tax bracket, I bet that public school in that area would have all the spoils of a wealthy white school strictly because it's based on a tax bracket, not because based on
so
race.
Why are there not more wealthy black neighborhoods with the same tax bracket as white neighborhoods?
So, I mean, clearly there's more wealth. Actually, I can't even say that if there's more wealth. I mean, on a whole, there's more poor white people in America just because there's more white people.
Right.
But percentage-wise, there's more wealth in the white community than there is in the black community. And that is because, obviously, if we're going to talk about just the people who have been here in America, a legacy of slavery.
So white supremacy, we're going right back to white supremacy.
But we also have to look at, recent immigrants that have come in from Africa and the West Indies in America who haven't sustained the same legacy of slavery and had incredible success in America. I mean, Nigerians out-earn and out-succeed white males in America, Asian males in America.
Even education-wise, they outperform.
And not only education. I mean, we're talking about wealth.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that they're bringing in average household out-succeeds everybody. So is that a function of white supremacy that they're doing so well here? How
because they're allowed to. Other people are allowed by the white supremacists to prosper over black Americans here. Because
where are these meetings I'm missing?
Oh, see, that's the thing. There's meetings all over. There's all over. Y'all won't tell us. So
I gotta go.
This is why we have to suspect certain people.
Some of that Nigerian money.
Yes, that's why we have to suspect certain people being white supremacists. These meetings are all over. Y'all not telling us. So,
who's y'all? I'm not being told.
You're not.
I need to get CC'd on the email.
You know somebody who knows what a meeting is.
I don't know. I just know these Nigerians are rich. I keep going to Nigerian doctors and dentists.
But they're
get
allowed. That's the thing. They're allowed. They're allowed.
Why would a white supremacist allow a black Nigerian to?
I just want to say, because you have it here where, again, Andrew Schultz is trying to get him to quantify something because we have white supremacy as this coverall term, and nothing wrong with that term. But as the conversation is ongoing, you would expect us to get more detailed. We're going to put some meat on this bone. What is white supremacy? I mean, what's test of falsifiability for it if it's up for question, which is what Andrew Schultz. I don't know if he's really said that so much yet that he's calling it up to question, but he's saying, how do we know when we see it? How do we know what's white supremacy, and how do we know what's not just the way we do things in our society? And every time he tries to find some kind of quantifiable metric, Tariq just goes, no, he'll either move the goalpost or he'll just go back to equivocating.
It's almost circular. It's almost circular reasoning. It's almost a circular reasoning. It's white supremacy. All right. Well, what about this? What about when black people doing this? Oh, okay. That's white supremacy. White supremacy says black people get, like it's a weird thing. It's like everything leads back to without any sort of again quantifiable evidence. And I'm not saying, to note for the people, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying he's not doing a good job of pointing. And I think that it's purposeful that he's not doing a good job of pointing it out, because there's plenty of stuff that you can utilize to better identify the phenomenon that he's describing. And I feel like he's purposely not doing that. He needs it to be kind of the big bad in order to keep this up.
Yeah, we definitely got to consider that. Yeah, definitely got to consider that because Andrew Schultz said there's more than once as far as dealing with how to quantify these things. So it could be one, either he doesn't understand, or two, he's definitely being deceptive. So it's fair to it's fair to ask that or wonder that.
Yeah. He's also willing to believe that there's a giant conspiracy still in place, and he's not even willing to consider, like he won't even converse with Andrew Schultz based on the in the arenas of classism over racism in a lot of these things. He doesn't even go into to Schultz's point. Some of the stuff he's bringing up, he doesn't have any quantifiable number, making some maybe based on a small perspective or his own personal perspective. But when he brings up black schools in affluent neighborhoods, he doesn't have any substantial evidence either, which allows which doesn't again put any sort of framework on this conversation.
Definitely. One quick before we get right back into the video, Vulcan. I'm not able to log into the Instagram account, so if you don't mind grabbing that link and put it on the Facebook and let the audience know we live on Facebook as well. So whenever you get a chance.
Hey, we also not gonna pretend we didn't see Vulcan just yawn 15 minutes. Yeah.
It wasn't easy. I'm not getting no advertising.
You got that poison over there, man?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
High fructose corn syrup, it'll kill you.
The advertisement dollars. All right, let's get back into it.
Hey, I just want to let you know, Red Bull, no matter if they sponsor us or not, better get on something more tasty.
To receive such wealth and privilege,
because they can take that wealth and privilege right away if they want to.
How?
Anytime. They can deport them. They can send them back over to Nigeria.
For what?
Back
You
to
can't
their
deport
village.
anybody for
the
nothing.
hell you can't.
You absolutely can.
If you're a black person,
Umar make this joke.
If you're black, if you're from another country, we're talking about immigrants here. They can find a reason to deport you. They can say,
my mom's an immigrant.
From where?
From Scotland.
Okay, well, she's white. That's different.
So
but a black
you
person
can only deport black immigrants.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. But
okay, but where in the legislation does it say that you can deport them?
With black people, well, they're doing that now with Syrians. All they have to do is you're a terrorist. You're connected to ICE.
I want to point out something that Tariq Nasheed real quick that I actually don't think Andrew Schultz is going to get caught. So Tariq Nasheed, it's called a special pleading fallacy. So Tariq Nasheed negates the effect that white supremacy has across the board based on how you look when he says Africans from Africa or African immigrants are doing better. They're separate from foundational Black Americans, if you will. So they have, different allowances under white supremacy. And then when Andrew Schultz brings up that his mother is also an immigrant, he posits because of how they look. Or, oh, she's white. As if white supremacy, and I'm not saying that whoever's running white supremacy doesn't know, that's a foundational Black American and that guy's a Nigerian, so we'll let that guy slide. But by the same token, how do we know what whites are from how do we know the difference between white immigrants and just foundational white Americans? It's a weird thing where he's not allowing for the same.
Is it breaking up on your end? Is he breaking up on your end too, or no?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Excuse me, yes, Fresh, you break it up.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I can hear you, it's just your screen is lagging.
The screen is lagging?
It's the audio and the video. For me, it's the audio and the video. For he's saying it's just the video.
Okay.
How do I sound?
That's just the point I want to put.
You're fine. Vocal,
you fine. Your video is fine.
Okay.
But I just point that out.
Are you using your laptop or your phone, Fred?
Laptop.
He's using the laptop. You can tell by this. You can tell by the rectangle.
The full screen.
Yeah.
So he doesn't apply the immigrant policy across the board when it comes to policy. In short.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
They can make up anything. You're connected with Boko Haram. They could make that up, and you have no proof. You have Ebola from Nigeria, so you're going to have to go back.
Because they're connected to Boko Haram. And for people who aren't familiar with Boko Haram is a terrorist organization with links to ISIS that is operating in Nigeria right now, and it's displaced thousands of people. Really scary shit. But who have they sent back because of Boko Haram? As far as my understanding,
with the Ebola thing,
Ebola isn't Boko Haram.
But the thing is, I'm giving you an example.
And they've never sent anybody back because of Ebola.
They won't let people over. They'll say, "Well, he can't come over here."
Let people over is different than sent back, Tariq.
But I'm just giving you an example of what they can do. They can do anything.
This is why you're good.
I'm giving you an example.
I'm giving you an
example of what they can do. I'm giving you an example of what they can do.
But you're not giving me an example of something that's actually happened. Because I've heard Umar make this statement, and they can't kick someone back who is a citizen and they can't kick someone back who was born here. So Nigerians come here, their kids are born here, and they have this incredible success in America.
But they're allowed to.
But
they're allowed.
They're allowed to by the white supremacists, right?
And also when before the Nigerians,
very weird.
Before the
other white
Nigerians,
supremacists would probably look at that, and be like, guys, you're this white supremacy isn't really up to par. I've seen better.
No. They don't mind that. They don't mind letting one or two black people prosper, a very small group. Hell, in Nazi Germany,
black people are a small group.
In Nazi Germany, there were rich Jews who got put in the oven. Like Abraham Tuchinski, he was a rich Jewish businessman. He went right in the oven.
Jews went in the oven.
Exactly.
That was the thing
exactly.
About it. So
all of us are treated the same. So certain black people are allowed to have a certain amount of money. Some are allowed to not.
If all black people are treated the same, why are you saying in the next sentence that certain black people are allowed to be pulled into the white supremacy umbrella?
Because they can be controlled. They can be controlled, and their little wealth that they get should not or will not be allowed to affect the masses of black people. That's the thing. They don't mind one or two token black people having certain positions. We'll even let you make $500 million like Bill Cosby, but we can destroy Bill Cosby anytime we want by bringing out these poor white women who said that he touched their breast.
Well, I mean,
that's a perfect example.
Well, it wasn't only white women. And
no. The couple of token black women sprinkled in there didn't even count. That's how they hide their racism by putting token.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing early on, one of my favorite quotes, I say this first, one of my favorite quotes is by Albert Einstein when he said, hold on, let me see if I can. The man of science is a poor philosopher. One thing I noticed, and I like to, use the science and interchange science, the scientist way, historian, because Tariq is well known as a historian. A lot of times when he's answering Andrew Schultz questions, he's always trying to answer with a historical fact. I don't know, have y'all noticed that? He's not really directly answering Andrew Schultz. He's answering with a lot of history knowledge. Have y'all noticed that so far?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just want to.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the historical stuff that he's brought up. Like I know
Nazi Jews. He brought the Nigerian. What's that dictator name again? Boko Haram. It's not really.
Yeah,
it's not,
he brought up a few. I mean, I don't know if it's. He's brought up a few historical points. Yeah, I mean, he didn't go like. I haven't really heard him go into detail.
Isn't Boko Haram a current issue though?
Yeah. Now it's considered history. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, he definitely it goes to your point because he cites it, and I think Andrew Schultz some other times is the one that's actually explaining it. But then Tariq's not really making a connection between his point on how he's right or how he's wrong, and based off whatever he's citing to prove his point, I guess. It looks like he just wants to be able to bring up a point, and then once you say that point, Andrew Schultz just submits. But when Andrew Schultz calls him to the carpet to be like, how does this prove your point? Tree doesn't really seem to have anything past that.
Right. Which is kind of what Andrew Schultz's point was from the beginning on why he wanted to engage with him. He's like, no one's calling you on your ish. Like no one's actually challenging you. But to the point, That's the same thing we've been saying about Umar.
Dr. Umar.
Yeah, but that's typical.
He's not really talking to anybody that can tussle with him intellectually.
Yeah, and what I'm using intellectually in a very specific way. I'm not saying everybody else is using it this way, but for me, I mean people that are being logical and reasonable and critical in their thinking. I don't mean going fact for fact or information for information, because Tariq can do that really well, and there may not be 20 people that could do that with him point for point to Enos's point about him being very historically sound. But when it comes to him being a poor philosopher and not being able to really make good arguments, that's the part where I think that he hasn't had a lot of competition, and he doesn't seem to have a lot of training in how to argue properly, the correct way, in a reasonable way.
Yeah, that's typical on their streams that I actually watch and some of their lecture. A lot of their audience usually are on the same thinking as the speaker, whether it's Umar, Tariq, Nasheed. A lot of them are mostly in agreement, people that's attending their lectures. So people are not usually trying to actually challenge a lot of their ideas and what they're saying. They're usually there to agree. Now, I'm not saying they're there to agree, but usually in an agreement or try to figure out solutions where them as a group can accomplish certain things, whatever they need to accomplish most of the times. All right, let's get back to it.
Black women.
I've seen you make this argument as well, that, which I think is an argument of convenience. This is what I'm talking about, where you need more competition, because I think it's just a convenient argument where you get into this thing like, okay, if you disagree with me, then you're a token black dude. You're a coon if you disagree with me.
These are facts.
But they're not facts. You can't prove tokenism of somebody.
You can.
How?
You can prove that name black people in certain positions. And there are two rules for black people who are put in positions by people in the dominant society. There's two rules.
Right.
Rule number one, you cannot help black people collectively.
Yeah.
Rule number two, you cannot punish white people. Name black people in these positions who have done one of those two.
Okay, so I remember you made this point on Sachs when you were talking about Marilyn Mosby.
Yes.
And you said that, and this is another one where I think you're blinded by race.
Just name them, brother.
But Marilyn Mosby is the mayor of, is the prosecutor, district attorney in Baltimore for the Freddie Gray case.
So you can't name Schultz, right?
We're going to go off of Marilyn Mosby, right?
Okay.
So you said that Marilyn Mosby tried to punish white cops, and they got her out of there.
They're getting her out of there right now.
Or they're getting her out of there right now. Right. Now, let's just talk about Baltimore for a second. This is a majority black city. There's a black mayor, black police chief, minority police force is majority minority police force, black district attorney.
That's not answering the question.
Majority black city council, black attorney general, black president. Who is they that's getting her out of there? I mean, I can tell you who's getting her out of there. Stephanie Rawlings Blake is getting her out of there because her career is potentially ruined by this Freddie Gray situation. So what you had, and Stephanie Rawlings Blake is the mayor, the black mayor of Baltimore.
Right,
and the black mayor of Baltimore threw under the bus for her own career.
But why did she throw under the bus? Because Stephanie's about her career is about to be thrown under the bus. By who? The white supremacists.
What white supremacists?
The ones who run the police unions there. This is the police unions that do that.
The police are minority black. They run their own unions.
Don't.
Absolutely.
The police out there in Baltimore don't run.
Listen,
man, the police unions. Are you telling me the police unions in Baltimore are run by black people?
Sure.
That's not true.
Absolutely. They represent minority.
That's not true.
So here's the thing, Tariq. This is not true. Tariq, this is why Baltimore is such a bad example. I'm telling you, that's not true. You can make better examples for this, but for this argument you're making, it's the worst example because this is a black city.
But
this is a black city that is controlled by white tax dollars. People.
It's not controlled by black people.
It absolutely is.
Then why are black people
majority
allowed to be
black
killed
city
out there
council?
And nothing happens?
9 out of the 15 people.
If black people controlled it, why can white cops go into black neighborhoods and kill black people?
Are they going into neighborhoods and killing black people? Is that something that's happening, or that's something that happens?
Why can they go into a black neighborhood and kill a black person and nothing happens to them?
Can white people do that, or can cops do that?
No, white people. White police officers can do that. Black people, you cannot.
Here's the question.
Black people cannot kill unarmed white people.
So here's the question I ask you.
So let me finish.
Here's the question I ask you.
Let me finish. Black people, even a cop, you cannot kill unarmed white people and not get punished. If it happens, it's so extremely rare, it's ridiculous. I can think about one or two.
Actually, it happens at a higher percentage than it does to black people.
No,
you should check out 2 studies. The Washington Post did a study, and I think Johns Hopkins University did a study where white people are 18% more likely to get killed than black people by police. White people.
You changed the argument. I said black cops killing whites. Now, I can deal with
black
what you're
cops
saying.
Black cops ain't killing whites.
Are not killing unarmed white people, Schultz.
Matter of fact, well, cops in general. Let's stay on this issue. But
also, let me deal with what you just said.
Real quick, and then we'll get back to that. I promise you.
Right.
I promise we'll get back to that. But real quick with this issue. So we have a situation where I think you're blinded by the race issue, right? And I think that there is cop privilege in that. a cop.
If you're a white.
No, I think if you're black, white doesn't matter.
Then name
right?
black cops who are killing unarmed white people. Name them.
Name black cops.
I can name Conholio, Darren Wilson. I can name the cops who killed Freddie Gray. I can name a whole bunch of them.
There was a black cop at a university in, I think, Texas that shot a white kid because he thought he was on drugs.
The naked white kid. Yeah, people always point to the naked. That's the only one that I can think of. And there was a white guy who was flipping out on drugs and he shot him.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's one. You said the name one.
Okay, but I mentioned that earlier. So you're going to have.
No, you never mentioned that.
I said there's about one or two.
Well, you just said name one. You said name one and name one. And I'm sure if I just Google cops that have killed whatever. But
there's always going to be a white sacrifice. But when it's systematic.
Again, here goes back to your argument, which is there's a token white.
When it's systematic.
You're a coon if you disagree with me, and there's a white sacrifice.
But having
I got something.
Moving the goalposts. Tariq. He said name one, he named one, then he moved the goalpost. Another example, another fallacy in his argument. And y'all, before we move on.
I think Fresh is frozen.
She gotta do that. Oh, yeah. I need to do that. Hold on for a minute, y'all. Oh, that's Fresh doing that. Sorry.
Yeah,
thanks for communicating that, Fresh. Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah, we got you.
I'm ready to put this up.
Conspiracy theory. So this is one of the logical fallacies that Tariq Nasheed is using because to purposes, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying he hasn't said how or where with any sort of hard evidence. It's every fact that is asked for, every metric that's asked for, every challenge is just kind of it's white supremacy. What's white supremacy? How is this operating? Like, if you can't tell me how it operates, how it works, like what the mechanisms are, how am I even certain that you know what it is? That you know it. So the description is explaining that your claim cannot be proven or verified because the truth is being hidden and or evidence destroyed by a group of two or more people. When that reason is challenged as not being true or accurate, the challenge is often presented as just another attempt to cover up the truth and present it as further evidence that the original claim is true.
That's bars.
Okay. Here's a couple examples. Just for we don't have to stay on it long. They can go research and look this stuff up on their own if they so choose. But this is pointing out that this is something that Tariq Nasheed thus far, right? It's a long interview. He hasn't really. Now I will say that Andrew called him to task on actually giving any details. Things are true.
Sir. Yeah, let's get back into it.
A white sacrifice doesn't negate the fact that it is systematic.
Better arguments. No, this is what I'm saying. You're a smart dude. Right. You're a great communicator, and you can communicate in digestible. I'm listening to this tax interview. Very digestible.
You are a white supremacy denier.
No, I've already acknowledged that white supremacy exists. But what I think that you do is I think that you conflate certain situations.
So what, Fresh?
I just said he's. So is he like, you know what? You're a white supremacy denier. The man just asking you questions, man. Why don't you answer them, Joyce?
It wasn't rude to him. He just said, "Hey, man, you could do a better argument." He's actually trying to help him out.
Like, you see this black people, this white man.
With white supremacy, which aren't. And I think what's dangerous about that is, let me finish, is what's dangerous about that is we actually don't get to the solution that we want because we're blinded by this white supremacy idea, or we're blinded by race baiting, and we miss the actual issue here at hand, which is not white supremacy. In this situation, it is maybe a cop privilege where a cop can get away with certain things regardless of race that a white person or a black person cannot get away with.
Name any area of activity that is not dominated by systematic white supremacy.
What do you mean?
any area of activity between people. There's about 9 areas: labor, law, education, religion, sex, war, entertainment, religion. Okay. Yeah. So religion is not dominated by white supremacy.
No.
It is. It's completely dominated by white supremacy because, number one, we're taught to relish and worship white gods. When you go to a black church, there should not even be a black church. The reason why there's a black church is because there's a white church, and there's a white church because of white supremacy. So all of you're supposed to be Christians. There should not be any segregation in a church. The white supremacists determine that. So white supremacy dominates all that.
So here's a perfect example of where I think that you again are clouded by your view of white supremacy. You want to prove white supremacy so bad, you're just ignoring thousands of years of history. For example, idols in religion always reflect what the people look like who they're trying to attract to the religion. So when Christianity was invented 2,000 years ago, and it was spread across Europe, which is white, they created a Jesus that was reflective of the population. Very similar to Buddha. Buddha, if you look at the Indian Buddha, is this fat, obese Buddha. Now,
Jesus isn't from Europe.
As Buddhism,
Jesus isn't from Europe. How you?
Can you listen?
As
Buddhism traveled from India to Asia, what happened to Buddha? Buddha became this slender, tight, slanted-eyed Buddha. So we go from fat Indian Buddha to slanted-eyed Asian Buddha because why? People want something that looks just.
This is small. Just want to point this out. Oh, let me full screen. Just want to point this out. Another example, like I said, that Tariq is a poor listener. He said, Andrew Schultz already explained that people usually make the creator or religious figures look like them. So when Tariq said Jesus is not from Europe, he missed Andrew Schultz's point. He said people typically make their creator look like them. That's another example that Tariq is not listening. Yeah.
And he's also not considering what America is. America is what we would consider a melting pot of different cultures, where in Asia is Asians, and Europe is European, or it's mostly Europe. And a lot of these other places, the reason their gods look like them is because it's just them. In America, we have to deal with what you would consider the dominant culture, right? Which happens to be white people. It has always been white people. Tariq Nasheed was saying, like, I want it to look like me. And I think Andrew Schultz is arguing, like, 12% of the population. Why would that be the case? That it shouldn't, or that it can't be? I'm saying Andrew Schultz is saying, why would that be your expectation? Dealing with any sort of logic or reasoning.
He's making a good point when he said that the Buddhist in India is different from the Buddhist in China. Buddhist, I believe, is from China, correct, but he looks totally different in India. That's the point Schultz is trying to make. So,
right, he's not considering.
That's why you see Black Jesus in certain churches.
I'm sorry, go ahead first. My bad.
No, I was just saying he's not considering any sort of logic because he needs that point not to matter for his argument to still be valid. Yes, America. But America will push a white guy. No, I was just saying America will push a white guy because America is mostly white.
Definitely.
People want something that looks just like them. That's why you see Black Jesus in certain churches.
But this concept of Black Jesus,
this Black concept of Black Jesus came about because in certain parts of the world, in order to attract them to Jesus, they created a Black idol. So you're looking at this like literally 2,000 years ago, when in Rome or wherever the fuck they are, they're not even considering Black people. Like, you know what? In 1600 years, we want to preserve the white supremacy legacy. So when the transatlantic slave trade happens, let's make sure that white God, Jesus, looks white so that we can disenfranchise and marginalize these Black people that we tell to be Christian. It has nothing to do with it. They're 1600 years apart. These people aren't thinking about it at all. They're thinking, how do I get that white guy right there who's a pagan to believe in Christianity?
But sir,
make this guy kind of look like him?
They practice Christianity in Ethiopia for thousands of years. They have like one of the oldest symbols of
He's doing it again.
Christianity in Ethiopia and Africa. So
and if you follow the art, and I guarantee if you follow the art, like you follow with any religion, if you follow the art,
now when you go
then you'll see the similarities.
All the places where there are dark people, they've been programmed and beaten into submission to worship Christianity. I've been all over the world. You go to Samoa, there's a white Christian church all over the place. Sure. Even in Africa, they're worshiping white Jesus all over the place.
Worshiping Islam all over the place as well.
Right.
What's your point?
Well, the thing is, Islam is dominated by the white supremacists because now they can. Islam is dominated.
Islam is dominated by the white supremacists.
You're dominated, because
so there's 2 billion tokens.
No, they're not 2 billion tokens. They're dominated by the white supremacists because they can blow up any Muslim anytime they want. want to. The white supremacists can say, okay, that's a terrorist. I'm burning and blowing up your whole country. So they're dominated by the white supremacy. Muslim is a code.
Make that point again.
I'm saying that the so-called Muslims, any Muslim on this planet, the white supremacist dominates them, especially over in the Middle East. The white supremacists run the Middle East. They go over there and pick and choose which Muslim country they want to dominate and destroy.
You're talking about Western oil influences are now synonymous with white supremacy.
Yeah.
So here's another perfect example of you being blinded by white supremacy. You're just taking the umbrella of white supremacy and putting it on top of whatever issue it is you want to discuss, and then making some loose connection.
Not a loose connection. They dominate them totally, sir. Do they dominate them or not? Do they dominate them or not?
No, I will not say that white supremacy dominates them.
It doesn't matter how much, sir.
I will say Western capitalism dominates.
That is white supremacy. Who controls Western capitalism?
I mean, it depends. It depends. I mean, I think Oprah's in control for her own network.
Oprah couldn't even handle the damn food industry. They almost destroyed Oprah's career. That's why she had to get Dr. Phil. Oprah got on television and said, I'm never eating beef again. Hillbilly white men almost destroyed Oprah. She had to go get hillbilly Dr. Phil to save her. That's why I don't
think you give Oprah enough credit for the power that she has.
No, I love Oprah to death, but the thing is, Oprah's still under the system of white supremacy.
No, Oprah.
They'll let her know that.
Listen, I'm not familiar with the food industry that she does, but what she did for television was unprecedented.
Nobody's questioning that.
Magazine industry was
nobody's questioning that.
It seems that you're questioning it, and it seems that you're belittling her efforts.
I'm not. That's a trick. No.
Let me make the point before you say trick.
No, that's a trick. You're trying to make it seem like I'm dumping on Oprah. I love Oprah.
Let me explain why.
Like me and other people are still victims of white supremacy.
Let me explain why I think that they are unknowingly dumping on Oprah. It's because you're acting as if Oprah didn't earn that.
I never said that.
You said you're acting like she was allowed to have it.
She earned it. A lot of us earn things, but we're still under the system of white
supremacy.
Because these
Nigerians are allowed.
They are allowed.
So,
that doesn't say that they're not thorough.
Or did she claw away and get that herself?
That doesn't say that they're not thorough. Let's be very clear.
Did she claw away and get it herself, or did she allow it?
It doesn't matter how qualified you are in the system of white supremacy. No, I love Oprah. I love everybody.
So far what we have right now with the back and forth between Tariq and Andrew Schultz is Tariq continuously moving the goalposts, shifting it to where Andrew Schultz can never defeat the argument.
Moving the goalpost.
One thing you'll notice is Andrew Schultz keeps trying to steel man Tariq's point. He's doing the right thing. Again, audience, straw man is whenever you pretend like you're attacking the person you're debating's real point when you're actually attacking a point that's like an exaggerated version of their point, or may not even be their point at all.
Oversimplified version of it.
Oversimplified version of it, and you attack that point, and then you pretend like you defeated the actual argument. Conversely, the steel man is whenever you do your best to explain the point that the person you're debating is making, and you give it the strongest version of it, the best version of it. You put in the best light, and then you begin to try to debate them and disprove that particular point. Every time Andrew Schultz tries to restate Tariq's point in a succinct way so that he can then attack it, so you're saying this, Tariq just jumps to the next point.
Right.
He's not.
You won't allow him to steel man it.
Yeah, he won't allow him to steel man.
Andrew Schultz for trying to attack points of this man's argument. That's what he's doing. He's not with none of the frills on the side, none of the extra stuff. He's like going head on at him. I don't even know if he can do it. I think Tariq dancing on him.
Yeah. So one of the examples of the straw man Tariq was using is, what was it, when he said Western powers the oil industry, and he oversimplified. Oh, that's just white supremacy. That's one of the examples for the audience. If you wanted to know what was some of the fallacies he was using, the straw man fallacy. All right, y'all.
Let's go.
Consistent with the argument. Do the white supremacists allow Oprah to have it, or does she claw away at it?
No, you can still be thorough, but they allow you to do certain
things. So Oprah didn't earn that herself.
She did earn it herself.
See, I think Oprah earned it all herself, and I think she might have had to work harder than someone else in her position.
Now, why would she have to work harder?
Obviously, because of racial issues.
There you go. Thank you so much. Of course, we're on the same page.
No. Honestly, in a lot of ways, we are on the same page. I just think that you're confusing, or maybe purposely putting this idea of white supremacy because it's something you want to prove so bad.
So we just proved that white supremacy dominates religion. What other areas of activity?
We actually disproved that. entirely.
No, we did not.
You completely agreed with me that these idols reflect the people that they want to bring on.
White supremacy dominates all. You're talking about thousands of years ago, there wasn't white supremacy.
if
within the last 500 years, that's when white supremacy rose.
Islam, which
if we're talking thousands of years ago, there wasn't white supremacy then. Now there is white supremacy, and it dominates all areas.
That's very convenient, isn't it?
No, it's not convenient. That's just history.
Right when you have an argument, that all of a sudden that's just what happens.
I mean, that's what happens historically.
This is why. So you're upset that now so your argument is now white supremacy dominates religion.
It does now, in all areas.
Thousands of years ago, it didn't.
No, it didn't, because there was no white supremacy.
Right.
Because African people were ruling all over the place.
When did they decide that Jesus was white? Now or thousands of years ago?
No, about 500 years ago. About 500 years ago, that's when they started to promote the white Jesus.
500 years ideology. Ago, Islam was popping. We're talking about
500 years ago when Columbus and all these people started sailing around the world. They started to Christianize everybody.
Before that, Jesus was white.
There's images of the original images of Jesus.
Pause it real quick.
No, I think he was Middle Eastern.
There's paintings in the Middle Eastern.
Hey, is Tariq Nasheed suggesting that white Jesus is only 500 years old? That he wasn't in Europe? That's go ahead.
I would say the difficulty with a lot of his points is that, and this is what you got to be careful when you're debating somebody who's not really interested in trying to have a real conversation to get to the bottom of it, is Tariq is taking Andrew Schultz on a path that no matter what the outcome is, it has nothing to do with the overall conversation. So he's using Jesus looking like, Europeans, I guess, as proof of white supremacy. So now they're debating on the fine details.
Supremacy is only 500 years old.
Yeah. So now they're debating the fine details of it. And if Andrew Schultz wins, is then Tariq going to be like, okay, now it's not white supremacy? If Tariq wins, is that proof that that's white supremacy? So no matter what we go on this particular debate right here, we're not going to get anywhere. And that's one thing that Tariq is really good at, is making it to where he takes you down this rabbit trail, and whether you win or lose the rabbit trail, you still lost the war.
Yeah, but he's offering conflicting arguments, or I guess what he considers, which I don't want to focus on too much, but I'm saying his argument is already unraveling, and is not even a complex issue. He's supposed to be a historian. He's saying there's no white supremacy up until 500 years ago, and that's where he's contributing to white Jesus, when white Jesus was in Europe all the time. He also says that it wasn't past 500 years ago because Africans were ruling all over the place, but Africans weren't ruling, where Christianity was the dominant religion. A white Jesus. How does he define that? Not define. How does he explain that?
Yeah, I think you got a good point.
They were black, basically. The original ones, they were black.
Now everybody's black. Now everybody's changing colors.
No.
Now everybody's
what are you? What are you? Jewish, Italian? What are you?
I'm mother Scottish, and my dad is Irish and German.
Okay, because some of the original Irish were even black. Go get a book by David McRitchie, Ancient and Modern.
I mean, the original humans were black. We can go back as far as that. Right. Obviously, everybody's black, but no, the original Irish were not black. There were black Irish, which people are talking about. But the black Irish are those when the Spanish Armada landed in Ireland, not.
But you had the Picts and you had the Celts and you had all of these people.
Yeah, but none of that has to do with blackness. You're just saying words.
I'm not.
You're just saying words.
Some of the original people in Ireland. Okay, this is a white guy said this. White guy named David McRitchie said this in the book Ancient and Modern Brilliance.
Tell me about the Celts. How they're black.
And these are the redheads. But there was a guy named David McRitchie. Listen, I'm telling you about this book.
You're just saying words. You don't know the definition.
Ancient and Modern Brilliance. There's a white guy.
You can't do that with me.
Go get the book.
I know my shit. That's the difference.
David McRitchie.
Okay.
This is Ancient and Modern Brilliance. There were original people in Ireland were black folks.
Let you say that. Tell me what the Celts and the Picts are.
The original people in Ireland were black people. The Picts and all these people. That's what a white guy said it. So he must be lying.
A white guy said it, so it must be true.
A white guy really believed this white supremacy shit. A white guy wrote it in the 1800s, so he must have been lying. That's where I got it from.
All right. Well, I think you need to relook at that source. I think you need to look at it again. And as far as religion goes, clearly, I mean, I think the most effective.
What Tariq's doing remind me of what Brother Polite was doing. He was arguing with his Christian friend. He's just throwing a bunch of stuff out there. He don't have nowhere to go with it. I'm just gonna keep throwing out. And this is my issue. This is what I've always said. And when we talk about this stuff in the past, so I would always make the point that people that get wrapped up in history, nothing wrong with doing that. And so, knowledge can puff up. And so you have all this knowledge, you have all this historical information you can cite. So he's just now rattling off historical things that he can remember to whatever extent he can remember it. But what that has to do with the overall conversation is not very much. So Andrew Schultz is telling him, like, you're just saying stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not making any real. And Andrew Schultz having fun with it, obviously, but I really think that I want the audience to hear that Tariq doesn't really have any real points. Did he prove? I'm not saying that you should believe white supremacy doesn't exist or exists. I think Andrew Schultz already acknowledged that he thinks it exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just the whole point. What point can we remember at this point? Has Tariq made one point that stands out in your mind?
Yes. White supremacy.
What point? Yeah, what point? Yeah, that's it. What he started with. What I want to say? Are we that far in the video? I'm looking at where the red line is. Are we that far in the video?
Yeah, you know the first hour, I guess they was having a regular show, and then they went into the interview. Oh, the debate after the regular show.
How many minutes left do we have on it?
I don't know. Let me check. The video is 2 hours and 23 minutes, and we had an hour and 36.
The video was 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Yeah, but I started at the hour.
Yeah, because the one I watched was only just an hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah, total. That was. Yeah, I actually went to their YouTube channel and actually pulled this video up.
So how much time we have left on this one?
I wouldn't know. Because I don't know. Because I know in the beginning they had a show, and then afterwards that show.
YouTube it'll show you.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how long the debate is because at the end of the debate they go on and finish their show. So I don't know how long.
He said he only had it for like 40 minutes, right?
Yeah. I think it's about to end soon. I believe it's about to end soon.
I was saying, like, because when they're back and forth rapid fire, my thing is I don't know if the audience can really hear what they're saying that well. That's my issue. I don't know if the audience can keep up with the conversation. They're hearing it for the first time. Okay. But
who's watching? Ask somebody if they can keep up. Yeah. If anybody's watching, is it difficult for y'all to follow the conversation based on the speed?
Well, the difficulty, we're streaming on now. We're on live. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So it's hard to kind of keep up with who's on what. I flipped from different screen to different screen.
Well, you can see you can see the comments on the stream. So just look at the comments instead of going back and forth to different devices and screens. I'll say this before we move on. Could be. I'm just questioning. Could be appeal to authority when when Tariq said somebody white wrote it, so it has to be true. Could be appeal to authority. I'm gonna fact check that later.
Well, you know
he's being facetious, wasn't he?
I thought he was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
I thought he was being
facetious.
Yeah.
I thought he was being a little bit of a dick.
Yeah, I'm joking with him. Again, one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein: "The man of science is a poor philosopher." Just take the word scientist out and put historian. A man of history is a poor philosopher. All right. Let that resonate. All right, let's go.
Let that simmer in your spirit.
Tools about Islam is you're not allowed to show pictures of the prophet, right? It is illegal in the religion. You can die when you show a picture of the prophet. Now, when you're not allowed to show pictures of the prophet, that's pretty convenient for convincing the whole world that that's your prophet because he could look just like you in your image, can't he? He can look just like you. So when I go to Asia, when I go to India, if I'm spreading Islam, which it spread very quickly throughout the entire world. I mean, the largest Islamic population in the world is Indonesia. You go to Indonesia, they can imagine that Muhammad looks just like them in Indonesia. So it's an effective tool for spreading.
But the thing is, they're dominated.
I just want to say this right here, just for everybody, audience to recognize. In Christian doctrine, I'd venture to say even in Islamic doctrine as well, definitely, Christian for sure. There's nothing about what the Savior, the Messianic figure's ethnicity is that's significant to the Christian doctrine.
It's not.
Outside of when you want to understand the origins of it, obviously him being Hebrew, coming out of a Hebraic context, that's important to understand the backdrop of what's going on. But as far as like the soteriology or the doctrine of salvation that Christianity espouses, has nothing to do with his ethnicity. In some texts, in the Bible talks about even discouraging people from going on about genealogies. So there's no need to, whether Jesus is being depicted as any color is not really significant in Christian doctrine. I mean, I've been in churches most, a significant part of my life, and I've never really heard any teachings on the color of Jesus, unless it was black.
As far as we know, any difference in the teachings based on what color the Jesus was in the church.
Yeah,
I've never heard the Ten Commandments change. I've never heard it. I've only heard it interpreted differently in churches, or not, but with like intellectuals, people trying to tell you not to be a Christian, or why Christianity as a religion or as a concept is flawed.
Right. Facts.
That religion is dominated by the white supremacists because they can take them out anytime, and they can criminalize a whole religious
is
group
the
of
whole
people.
world dominated by Russia because they have a nuclear weapon? They can take people out anytime?
They're white. It's white on white crime as far as I'm concerned. But as far as Islam,
yes,
they can take out anybody. It doesn't matter how much money you have. With Gaddafi, all of these people, they had a lot of money, took them out overnight. So the white supremacists dominate all people,
right? So that's
regardless of religion.
That's American empire.
That's still white supremacy. See, these are code words. See, a lot of people like to use these words as capitalism.
Sure.
It's empire. It's the Illuminati. It's the Bilderberg. That Alex Jones bullshit. It's the Bilderberg. This is all different words for white supremacy.
Why is that?
Because the white supremacists are the ones you're talking about. When you're talking about all these different groups, it's like a corporation. And you're talking, there's a corporation called white supremacy, and you're just talking about the different floors in the same corporation.
So is there a difference if white supremacy looks out for white people so much? Why are white people in America suffering?
Well, you have white sacrifices, and also it's
so
like
sacrificing the majority of white people.
Also, it's like military. You have generals.
Well, run a corporation. This building needs some,
and even look
renovations.
So you saying that poor white people, they're not white supremacists?
Well, I think poor white people will want to be white supremacists more than anything else because they actually value it. They actually benefit from it. But it serves, because if I'm poor but I'm better than you and you're a rich black guy, then I of course want to align myself with this white supremacy. That makes perfect sense. Now, why isn't the white supremacy elite that you're talking about, that are making all these decisions, that are oppressing the Middle East, that are controlling the entire world, the white empire? Why aren't those white people taking care of these poor white people if there's this agenda? Or is it maybe those white elite aren't really white elite, they're just rich people and they don't give a fuck about what color your skin is. They just want to keep all their money to themselves, and it has nothing to do with white supremacy, but rich supremacy and the top 1%. And if you're part of that group, then you get to play with us and you get to the spoils and fuck all the poor people, regardless if they're black, regardless if they're white, regardless if they're Asian, regardless if they're Puerto Rican. It doesn't matter.
And the thing is, the problem with that argument, some of the worst and biggest white supremacists are dirt poor white people. They are some of the biggest white supremacists you ever want to meet, because that's all they have.
That's all they have.
They can say, I live in a trailer, I'm on meth, I got head lice, but I'm doing better than that rich black guy because I will not be killed walking around unarmed. Well, and my constitutional rights will be protected.
Lyndon B. Johnson said that. He goes, he said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the highest black man, you won't need to rob him. He'll hand his money to you.
That's why they gave all their money to Trump.
But listen, well, we can get into Trump in a second, but I think that they gave their money to Trump. I think some people give their money to Trump for racial motives, but I don't think all of them. But in terms of that stigma right there, he's saying they'll hand their money to you. What Lyndon B. Johnson is saying with that quote is, you can manipulate them so you can rob them. It's not this, hey, you got white skin, I want to take care of you. It's, hey, you're an idiot and you're poor. Well, I'm going to take advantage of you. I'm going to sell you this lie, not so all of us white people can enjoy the spoils of America, so I can rob your fucking ass and you can think you're better than somebody, so you'll let me fucking rob you. So I think that these wealthy people, I think that the step that you're kind of missing is that there's a level of wealth in this country where they don't give a fuck about anybody's skin color, nothing. They give a fuck about promoting their business, promoting their agenda. And I think if we look at this through the guise of white supremacy, we just continue allowing them to rob everyone.
But the thing is, nobody's doing anything about white supremacy. See, and the thing
is, of course we're doing something about white supremacy.
Nobody's doing anything about white supremacy.
I heard you say that on the tax season podcast. You said America is more racist than ever.
Yeah. Yes.
You believe that?
Not believe. I know.
America's more racist than ever.
Yes.
So right now,
it's gotten worse. White supremacy has gotten worse.
So you agree with Donald Trump? We have to make America.
Bars.
See, this the difficulty right here is that, like, Schultz not able to pin Tariq down. The conversation's moving, and we haven't established anything. That's the difficulty with this conversation right here. How do you come to any kind of common ground when you can't establish anything? They make the point, then they move to the next thing.
They refuse to down with you at any certain point and say, okay, that's true. Like, I haven't heard Tariq Nasheed say, oh, you have a point there once. He just flips back to white supremacy. I'm gonna make a shirt.
Yeah,
it's all white supremacy. everything's white supremacy.
And I want the audience to understand the issue with saying everything is white supremacy is if everything is white supremacy, then you can't be defined.
That's like what I was saying at the beginning.
It becomes the universe. The universe. When we think about universe as a kid, we look at in the space and we see stars and we see planets and we see stuff like that. We go, okay, that's the universe. But technically, the universe would be us. It'd be your bed. It'd be your chair. It'd be your cup. The universe would be everything that the table of elements that's composed with a table of elements. So, I just want the audience to recognize that, the same way goes for white supremacy. If white supremacy encompasses everything, then effectively it has no definitive constitution, and therefore
we're white supremacy. Everything is. It can't be beat. It can't be defined. It can't be like he's calling out something that essentially has no solution. To that point, what is your purpose at this point then, Tariq Nasheed? What are you doing?
Ding, ding.
Ever.
Yeah.
So right now
it's gotten worse. White supremacy has
gotten worse. So you agree with Donald Trump? We have to make America great again, then.
Bars.
Yeah, but he's not going to do it. How's he going to do it?
But I'm just saying, you would like to go back to another point in time. What point in time you think?
Let's just make America great.
But
again, let's make it great.
Well, apparently it was greater before, according to you. What time period would you like to go back to?
I'm just saying,
1863.
No, there's
Emancipation
no
Proclamation. When was America? Like you're telling me America used to be better in terms of racism?
That. Well, no,
you said
used to be
verbatim.
Better.
You said verbatim. It's
worse.
never been more racist.
Right.
So
you saying, are you flipping that to say that I'm saying that it was better racial? Because
that's what never been.
No.
Implies.
No, because you cannot have better racism. That's the thing. We live in this. I've always said we live in a system of white supremacy.
Sure.
That's what I said.
Sure.
We live in a white, and there is no progressive white supremacy. There's no better white supremacy. It's just white supremacy.
So
you haven't killed each other yet?
No. Good conversation. We're talking
good dialogue.
Absolutely great. And I'm so happy.
Yeah. See, this right here again. This is not how things are measured in the real world. If you go to Ross to buy some clothes, they're going to measure the shrink. They measure shrink in quantifiable ways. How many millions of dollars have we lost as Ross or Walmart? There's a way to measure it. It's not like, it's a shrink is shrink. No, we want to mitigate the amount of shrink that we have as a company. So we're going to implement these processes to be able to reduce the amount of shrink we have every year. Every organization runs that way, whether it's the dropout rate, whether it's the literacy rate in schools, or the dropout rate, whether the military when they want to reduce spending on certain things. Everything can be quantified. You can reduce things, you can increase things. Again, he wants everything to be non-quantifiable, wants everything to be non-verifiable. And again, I want everybody to understand as the audience that this show is built off the idea of being test of falsifiability, peer review, being able to verify what people are talking about, being able to look at the person's premises and their conclusion and determine whether or not they line up. All Tariq's done so far in this show is make it to where his point is so far out into the universe, we can't find it. It's too fluid. It moves around too much. And the issue with that is that you have nothing. You can't manage, you can't measure. If you can't measure, we can't manage it. What can you do with it? How can you be convincing? How can you push any type of social change with a definition that's undefinable? You can't. And that's why everybody understands. It's not about whether he's right or wrong on his point. Listen to what he's actually been saying. Is this something that we can get behind?
Tariq Nasheed is essentially I'm really taking people's money to argue the sun rising or something like the earth spinning. Like, the sun's rising, and every time it rises, it's yeah, but is that something you can stop? Like, that's something we have to deal with. So why continue to talk, like, not talk about it, but why would you continue to lament it? The sun is killing us.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's just a thing that happens. Unless you're coming up with a solution on how to stop the sun from rising every morning, what Why are you getting me wrong? Why are you up like it's?
Yeah, the audio got a little messed up on that one. But yeah, so right now we're at the place where he says racism's gotten worse in America instead of better. Has he proven that at all?
Make America great again.
Well, it's got a little. It's like it's got a little bit of a time left on. Maybe he gets around to it.
Happy you came. Welcome,
Let's
Charlie.
go.
My point is that clearly white supremacy was more intact when black people weren't humans, when they were considered livestock.
Or the 2/3?
Than when a black person, well, even before there was two-thirds was progress.
Yeah.
They got to 2/3 just
So
so
you're
they could
trying to
get
say
votes.
that there's racial progress
In America?
Yeah.
You go from owning livestock, human.
This is a common theme that we hear all the time. I'd probably go so far as to call it a trope, but it's very common. People say the 2/3 thing. Black people were 2/3. We got to get into categories. The 2/3 compromise historically was a compromise between two different parties on representation. It was a compromise.
Echo.
It's not as if either side thought that blacks were 2/3 of a person. I would say that they didn't think that highly of us, unfortunately, historically. But it was a compromise. One side wanted more power when it came to voting, and so your voting representation is based off your overall population. So we got a large slave population. If we count them as 2/3, we have more of a say-so in how the government's being ran. That had little to do with how they collectively viewed black people's worth. So saying 2/3 and stuff like that, I don't buy for a moment that it was even our value was even that high to them anyway. But my point is just saying that had to do with nothing had to do with black people's intrinsic value and worth. It had more to do with political power. If one side could have made us an actual person, not a 2/3 but a 3/3, they could have did that. They would have did it because that would have given people more power politically. But the other side wouldn't acquiesce in that way because then they lose power. So it was all about a power struggle. It had nothing to do with black people's intrinsic value and worth. That's what everybody understands that historically. 2/3 compromise is what they're referring to. And I hear people bring that up as a point, but it's not really a strong point one way or the other. It had nothing to do with us in that way. It had to do with them having power.
So it's a numbers game, basically, as opposed to
it's white supremacy.
Distinct. Yeah.
And that actually was white supremacy in a sense, but yeah.
Since his livestock to having a black president, I think that's racial progress.
There's no such thing. That's like progressive
racial progress.
Of course,
that's like
racial
progressive
progress.
rape. If you rape somebody, do you have progressive rape? There were rapists back then, but there's just a few rapists now. They're not as brutal as the rape. Is that progressive rape?
There's definitely levels to rape.
Tariq is a brilliant idiot.
Of course, there's levels to rape.
There's a level to rape?
Of course, there's levels to rape. Of course, are you out of your mind? Okay, if you had to, okay, I'm gonna ask you right now. If you had to, okay, ready? Here's a level of rape. If you had to get raped,
am I sitting here with?
if you had to get raped by Wax, right? You know Charlemagne's buddy. Wax, or a 5-foot Asian, whose dick do you want?
None.
None. Whose dick do you want?
Thank you very much, everybody.
Whose dick do you want?
Rape is rape.
No. Give me Kwong Kwong. I want that shit. Do not give me Wax. Okay?
No dick for me.
Of course,
no dick
that's
for
not
me.
the hypothetical. But the point is, would you rather live in America now? Would you rather live in American slavery? Would you rather live in America
Well, we still
now?
live in slavery. This is slavery. We still live in
That's
slavery.
insulting to
That's
what
not.
slaves
That's
went through. That is
no.
insulting
The
to what
prison
slaves
industrial
went through.
complex is slavery,
That is
man.
insulting to what slaves went through.
Please, we're going to slavery
Real
now.
quick.
Slavery just meaning
Real
slavery
quick.
means
What would
we
you
have
rather?
you dominated,
What would
and
you
you can't do
rather?
anything about
Would
it.
you rather live in a time where you can sell books, you can sell movies, you can travel the country doing radio, you can make, I assume, I don't know if you're a millionaire, made millions of dollars?
Yeah.
Or would you rather be living in a shed, eating horrible food, and being whipped every single day and being chained? Which is better for you? Which would you rather?
Well, the thing is, I
That's a
still
hard-
live in a system where they can shoot me and get away with it. Right
Which would
now,
you rather?
2017.
Just answer the
Right
question.
now, I'm telling you now, it's no difference. It's no difference.
There's
There's
no
no
difference.
difference. I can be killed now. They can be killed then. I can be killed now.
I can be killed now. Anybody can be killed.
You're not
A
going to be
white
killed with
infant can be
impunity.
shot by cops in the car.
No, well, and they went right to jail, so that's going to deter anybody
that doesn't
from doing
stop
that
you from
shit.
being
But the
killed.
thing
Yeah,
is, you have
it's-
people out here who are allowed and being rewarded.
When their tempo hastens, I think that 1.25 gets a little bit much for the audience. Just FYI between us, but just want to make that point.
Vulcan wants you to slow it down.
I just dissed you.
Slow it down.
Pretty much at the end.
Rewarded to kill black people out here. They're not rewarded to kill you.
Think that you live the exact same life.
No, we've made a lot.
Listen,
We can do better, but we have made so much racial progress.
People lose respect for your arguments,
brother?
People lose respect for your arguments if you don't have intellectual consistency.
Let's talk
this is not intellectually consistent.
It's very consistent.
No, it's
How
not.
have we changed?
Damn well
We
you
just
grab
have
the
technology.
Asian dick.
Talk, Schultz. Go ahead,
We just have technology, but the technology is basically
you have freedom.
Really enforce more white supremacy.
You have freedom.
No,
you can vote. You can choose your destiny of your life. You can choose to leave America.
Vote for who?
Vote for Barack Obama.
And Barack Obama is controlled by the white supremacists.
And I remember you said
we're still under the thumb of white supremacy. It's like a prison, brother. It's like a prison. You can do stuff in the prison.
I think you need.
I don't want to be in the prison. We need to get rid of the prison.
What Barack Obama has done specifically.
We know that Barack Obama. He wasn't allowed to do anything, and if he did something, they would have blew him up in the White House and the whole nine.
But Barack
he wasn't
Obama
allowed
did
to do anything. Not for black people. No,
he absolutely did. I mean, I can go through a list of it because I looked at it last night. Obviously, he had 2 black attorney generals.
That means nothing. They were powerless tokens too, who couldn't punish none of these race soldiers killing black people. They were powerless tokens.
The Jobs Act.
That's that token thing.
Everything's a token. When you get up,
there's 2 black people. There's 2 black people there.
So
that's progress.
Go ahead.
I think you need to think about an argument. So the Jobs Act, it made money available for minority-owned business owners.
What's a minority?
Anything that's not white supremacy.
That bullshit.
Except Nigerians, because they're white supremacy to you.
Most minorities are white.
Nigerians are white.
Most minorities are white. See, watch these trick words. Most minorities are white.
In terms of, you're saying women are a minority, is that what you're
white
saying?
Women,
right?
Hispanics who are classified as white.
Well, it depends.
Gay, white men, they're classified as minorities.
Not all Hispanics are white. Okay.
I know over here about 80% of them are white.
Okay, so he
over
cut
here they are.
Black unemployment in half. It went from 18.6% to 8.3%. That is specifically something he did for black people. The Ready for Work Partnership, $170 million for back to long-term work programs that disproportionately help black people. So 25% of the black recipients were black, 12% of the population. They were reflected double the recipients of this specific program for black people.
What was the name of that program?
The Ready for Work Partnership. And what it did is it prepared people for long-term work ethics. So it's not like I'm going to get you a job and then you're going to be out of this work in 2 years, but it not only prepared people for the jobs, but it trained them for the jobs and connected them with the jobs that they can.
I haven't heard of that program, and most black people haven't heard of that program. So I don't think that
25% of the people in the program for black.
I don't know one black person who has heard of that program.
Listen, you also didn't know.
How
many people did it affect?
How many people did it help? Because they say this stuff like 25% of the unemployed. See, they work these little numbers.
Yeah, how many
and
black
it don't
people
really affect a large number.
The statistic of how many people. All I can tell you is the 170 million black people got 25% of that. The small business.
And I got to verify that because that sounds real funny.
Please do. Small Business Association loans. The fee for those loans went to zero. They targeted blacks by partnering with the U.S. Black Chambers.
Targeting blacks. Watch these terms. You saying they targeting blacks? Those are not specifically for black people.
Yeah. So.
He killed him. He got him on the ropes. That's wild. I didn't think
he's got him on the ropes. He's got.
I didn't think it was gonna happen.
Andrew Schultz is the real deal. Now, I wasn't a fan of one of Andrew Schultz shows when he was kind of debating back and forth with somebody. I won't go into that one right now. I'll say he debated a guy named Myron. I didn't think he did well on that one, but I did a really good job with Tariq. I think he was waiting on this. They're going to get into why it's so important to Andrew Schultz, at least to some extent. But yeah, Tariq has nothing so far. I haven't heard him really make any real good points.
Listen, Tariq hasn't brought any facts or statistics. All claim that the things he's saying are facts. He hasn't substantiated any as actual facts. And anytime Schultz brings up any sort of metric or statistic, Tariq Nasheed just waves it away. You gotta watch when they play with these numbers. What are numbers? Like
these little numbers.
Yeah, these funny little numbers. You watch how they manipulate the numbers. How do you? And again, when you take away that power, and I just want to keep pointing this out. When you take away the measurables, you also take away a way to fix the problem. You cannot you can't begin to fix a problem that you can't even accurately identify or define. So Tariq Nasheed is basically saying, and again, he said, he made a statement. He said it's like saying you could do things in a prison. How do you get out of prison? Like where are your solutions? I liken this to somebody, like you have somebody in your house who just complains all the time, and then you're like, all right, well, get out. And it's like,
yeah,
oh, you kick me out? It's like, I just want to do inside this house what I want to do, and anytime that you tell me I can't do it for whatever reason, white supremacy.
White supremacy.
Come on, man. White
That's
supremacy.
It. He's using white supremacy like Smurfs use Smurf. Yeah. Yeah, everything.
Right, it's the rules of the house you live in.
Yeah,
I just want to be here. Why can't do what I want? Because it's rules and stuff, bro. You can't just do whatever you want.
You can't do that. It's a little girl.
It's a little girl.
That applies so many times, man.
9-year-old.
But we can go,
I'm going to tell you how they targeted black. So they partnered with the U.S. Black Chambers and the 100 Black Men of America to make sure that these loans were targeted to blacks. Did they get them though?
Did they get them? Exactly.
Oh,
did they get them?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you don't know if they did that. So you're watching these words like targeted.
You don't know if they didn't. Right. So there it is. So until you can tell me they didn't, then they did.
So those are weak reaches, man.
The Fair Sentencing Act. Fair Sentencing Act. This narrowed the gaps in sentencing between crack and cocaine. Okay, this is something specifically that I'm sure that you were referencing when you talked about the institutionalized racism and institutionalized imprisonment of black people. So he specifically targeted the difference in time served.
Then why so many black people still disproportionately in jail for nonviolent drug crime?
Well, Barack can't change that in the end.
All right, but let's be real. Let's not throw all these little.
Well, you think that's because of racism?
These little symbolic things.
Well, you think that's because of racism?
Because brothers in jail like that? Yeah.
So here's a question: 95% of the people in jail are male. Is that because the justice system is sexist?
No, but the justice system is dominated by white supremacy. You know why? Because
let's just attach on that. So it's not. So I gave you a statistic. I just want to point this last thing out. That is the same statistic that you gave me, but you said.
No. I just want to point out that Andrew Schultz is about to make him, but he immediately went back to white supremacy, even though the question had nothing to do with white supremacy. Like he never even addressed it. He gave a one-word answer. No. But I'll tell you why it is white supremacy. It's almost like the more times he says it, the more times people will believe it. The more time you hear in this interview white supremacy, the more you'll believe it. I'm like, I'm gonna leave it for my closing statements, but it's kind of wild, man, when you start looking at it with a logical and reasonable lens.
Yeah, that's it's pretty sad.
Immediately known and discredited it. Now, this is a perfect example of where you're blinded by race. Right. You see a race statistic, you believe it, right? Because we don't question the things. We don't question. And I gave you a gender statistic, and you believe it, and you completely disregarded it.
I'm going off from what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying.
No, my point. You're responding to what I'm saying. My point is, just because a statistic exists doesn't mean there's reason.
You gotta let him talk. You're deflecting, Schultz. So he's
a grown man. Will you
Schultz is deflecting.
No, we gotta have a conversation. You gotta think about people listening. Like,
so you're saying that
95% of people in
the disproportionate number of black men in jail is not because of race, not because of white supremacy.
Not necessarily.
Most black men are in jail. Most black men are in jail for nonviolent drug offenses. Our sister Michelle Alexander, she broke that down in her book. But the number one drug in the country, crystal meth, heroin, that stuff, and 90% of the people who use and sell are white.
Are you familiar with the punishment for crystal meth? Are you familiar with the how long you have to do in jail if you're caught with that?
How long? What does that have to do with them going to jail? Period. Because
exactly the same amount of time for crack.
Now, so how come the jails are not filled with white meth and heroin users and sellers?
They're increasingly becoming that way.
Increasingly? Well, how come they're not now? Why not now?
Meth is a newer drug. And
meth
crack
has been around
happened
for
in the
a
80s.
long
No, it
time.
hasn't. Meth is a much newer
Meth has
drug.
been around for a long time.
Heroin's
Heroin's
an
been
older
around.
drug, but meth is a much newer drug, and they're increasingly so inside these jails. The
So
numbers are
you're
shocking.
just saying they haven't gotten them yet? That's what you're saying?
It's happening. I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a similar epidemic with meth as we saw with crack.
No.
How new is meth? I thought meth been around.
Meth has been around for a long time. Meth has been around for a long. That's not true, show.
It absolutely is true. You can look it up.
Meth has been around for a long time.
So now let's look at the 95%.
That's going to be that's being disingenuous, but that's okay.
Let's look at the 95% statistic. So 95% of the people in jail are male. Is that because jail is sexist? You said that jail is racist because the majority of people in jail are black, or a disproportionate amount of blacks are in jail. So that means that was enough proof for you to say it's racist. So I'm saying 95% of people in jail are male. That is disproportionately male to female. Is that, by your logic, because jail is sexist?
No, that's just a deflective argument, Schultz. That's nothing but a deflection. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the process. It's no answer. It's a deflection.
See, again, this is not a deflective argument right here. Basically, and again, this is a common thing that people do. When he said deflective argument, he's basically saying anything that you're going to say that would shift the burden of proof or that will put white supremacy back up for question on is this white supremacy is a deflection. That's what he's doing. Like it could, because he just literally still manned his argument again. So you're saying this, and he states it, and he does it justice. You're stating this, and he even goes into detail and saying you're saying that this is the reason why it's white supremacy because this percentage of black people are in prison. So now I'm gonna say this percentage of males are in prison. So is this sexism? And Tariq doesn't even deal with it. He doesn't even address it. He didn't say, well, you know what, Mark, because again, this wouldn't make Tariq wrong. Tariq could say, you know what, my argument is more nuanced than that. When you restated what I was saying, I didn't know where you were going to go with it, so I let you finish it out because I didn't want to bog you down with a bunch of details. But now that I realize that you're doing this analogous thing here. No, my argument's more nuanced than that. It's not just the fact that blacks are overrepresented in prison. It's also this, and this, and this. So that's why the gender thing's not going to work. He could do that. And it will be on the audience, and on Andrew Schultz to be able to allow him to refine his argument. That's not what he's done. He's just going to dismiss it. That's a deflective argument. So nothing Andrew Schultz could actually say could disprove anything that Tariq believes because Tariq's not even going to entertain any type of difference of opinion.
What Schultz is doing when he asks those questions that may or may not have anything to do with the current argument is he's calling into question Tariq Nasheed's process. He's wanting Tariq Nasheed to show that your process applies to multiple topics and it's not just catered towards this one thing. So if it doesn't make sense to me how you're getting to your conclusions and you're saying, well, it's this, and this, I'm going to say, okay, does it apply to this over here? Does your process, because processes have certain frameworks, they have certain controls in place that allow them to be processes as opposed to just sticking in certain factors wherever you want to make them work for you.
Yeah.
And that's what Tariq Nasheed is not allowing him to do that. Tariq Nasheed is that he doesn't have a process. His process is white supremacy. Whatever you say, whatever you say is white supremacy.
If you try to disprove my argument, you're just
you're a white supremacist. You're a white supremacist denier.
That's it.
What? Even though in the beginning of this pod, I acknowledged that white supremacy was a thing, I'm just asking you to prove it to me.
I don't want y'all questioning my perspective on this. This is what it is.
Exactly, because then I'm going to lose some people that support me are going to start looking into the things that I'm saying. And the problem with these type of folks is they actually take away from the movement, because once they get disproved, once they're shown up like this, even though it's an appeal to authority, right? I.e., I believe this because Tariq Nasheed said it. You lose more supporters when Tariq Nasheed is shown to be just spouting off. I don't even want to say hey, but he's just saying these things. He's saying what he will rile up black people. and that's a problem. That's a real problem, especially because the problem he's talking about, the real issue. I don't know if it's laziness. Is he too lazy to do it? He didn't offer any.
I'll be honest, I don't think there's much there. I don't think there's much there because again, it's a dogma for him. It's pretty much his own religion, because and he's fitting it with religious fervor. Just like talking to somebody, you ever talk to somebody who was in a religious organization and they never studied, never researched it, not involved in the intellectual rigor that's happening in the university on the topic. So they're just giving them points and they're just like, my mama told me this, but God revealed it to me. And you're like, I'm not gonna get anywhere.
My mama said. My mama said.
Because alligators have all them teeth and no toothbrush. You're not gonna get anywhere. You're not gonna get anywhere with them.
Wicked, man.
That's what Tariq is doing.
I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. It hurts me to see this type of stuff because it's like, what, you're misleading folks. You're misleading your people. You're super pro-black and Afrocentric, and it's almost like, so what are you doing to help? What is it that you're doing to help? You're calling this thing out. What are you? Hey, Enos, you're more familiar with him. Do any of his books have like solutions, like different platforms and programs, like that can, I guess, get us from of white supremacy?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if Tariq if he had wrote any books on race topics.
Yeah,
so
we know he's done documentaries.
I know him for the art of Malcolm. As far as he was well known for the relationship books. Like I said, I think he's a New York Times best-selling author. So I think he got into, if I'm not mistaken, the race conversation later on in his career. So
okay.
I have seen him. I have seen Hidden Colors. Good documentaries. Pretty good documentaries.
Yeah. I mean,
as far as history, do they offer solution? Definitely. He usually bring in guests because if you listen to him, if you're familiar with guys like Dr. Claude Anderson, he actually quoted some of his talking points earlier in the debate. So yeah, they give solutions at the end. A lot of times the solution is power economics.
Economic power, yeah.
Yeah. So
I will table that particular.
I say there's a lot of politics. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying based on that stuff because I was actually asking. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Tariq Nasheed and his works, so I'll table that argument. But it just seems that he's not in this particular interview or debate. He's not offering anything. He's just saying, "Hey, this is bad for us," and even if it's getting better, that's kind of what I don't like. He's not even willing to admit it's getting better. So it's like, what can we do then? All the progress that we've made, and you're saying that it's not progress at all. What does progress look like then?
Yeah. And again, it's gonna boil down to this. And I forgot the name of the fallacy here, but it's the fallacy of this. But it goes back to that quote that I always state about don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's pretty much the fallacy to deal with. You know, every time you compare something to perfection, it's not good because it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the type of perfection fallacy to pop up. But yeah, so that's the issue again. If it's not perfect, it's not right.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Collective argument that has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. The reason why there's so many people, and even let's go to black women, more black women in jail than white women, and there's more white women who are meth users and drug users there. So it always goes back to systematic white supremacy.
There's also more black women in college and more black women in graduate school.
Not than white women.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously there's more white women in the country, but percentage-wise, black women are the most educated people in the country. So is that because education system is racist?
So we're going by the percentage thing.
That's how you look at a demographic.
No, you look at raw numbers.
Did he just say the percentage thing?
Okay, well,
you look at raw numbers.
White people are 5 times the population of black people. Clearly, there's going to be more than.
And if there's 5 times % of the population, why are so many more black people in jail? And you're 5 times percent of the population,
we could
all these
also-
black men are in jail.
We could also look at the same statistic and say, why are there so many black
But
people
no. We can also
killing-
answer that question.
Why? Okay, what is your question?
The question is,
And methamphetamine has been around since 1887, by the way.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying they haven't been around, but the meth it's like saying crack. Yeah, you could make
So you said
cracks
no.
in
You
the
said so. Is it the
beginning.
You said-
meth epidemic, or you said meth is a newer drug?
right.
The meth
The meth
epidemic
epidemic
is
is
a new
newer.
drug.
It's not
Yeah.
a new- yeah.
The meth epidemic
It's
is
newer.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But back to your question. You got
But the question is, because there's 5 times more white people in the country, shouldn't they be in jail 5 times more?
absolutely. You
Then
would
why are
think.
they not?
You would think.
Then why are
right?
they not?
Because in what the justice system believes is they aren't committing the crime at that rate.
Why do they think that?
I don't know. Why do you think that?
White supremacy?
I wouldn't chalk it up to just white supremacy. I would chalk it up to the lasting effects of slavery, and I would talk about
Which is white
and Jim Crow,
supremacy?
which is
white supremacy. You keep bringing
It's
different words for white
proven that mass
supremacy.
incarceration is a race issue, though.
Yeah.
It's been proven.
yes. There are.
We
certain,
agree on a lot of stuff.
there
So
are certain,
you
there are
prove a lot
certain
of stuff,
aspects.
right?
Absolutely. There are certain aspects. I can't deny that, and I absolutely would deny. But I think that it is more detailed and nuanced than you give it credit for. So, for example, when we look at the numbers that we see, I guess you chalk up everything that has happened to black people in America to the history of black people in America.
I chop up everything that happens now. Everything, especially everything negative that happens to black society, is completely orchestrated by white supremacy, and I mean that with no exception.
I mean, President Obama said that in his farewell speech the other day. He said that He said white people need to stop dismissing the fact that the after effects of slavery and Jim Crow are very much affecting us as a society.
And he also
now.
said, "Stop looking at everything as a race thing."
He did, but both it works both ways.
Yeah.
You don't look at everything as a race thing, but you have to deal with the reality of the situation.
Absolutely, I've never denied that. I've been a very, very strong proponent of the effects of Jim Crow and slavery, and I think it's one of the reasons why blacks that come here from Africa and the West Indies are so successful in this country is because they don't have that lasting legacy and they don't have that victimology mentality that the blacks that are raised.
They have it. They have it. But the thing is,
Not to the extent.
They're allowed over here. See,
Not to the
especially in
extent.
their countries are dominated by white supremacy. That's why they had to bring their asses over here.
But they grew up with their own leaders, right? They grew up
they grew up with puppet leaders.
black
They know
presidents.
that.
They grew up looking at black people in office. They grew up looking at black business.
Nelson Mandela was a real leader.
They go look at all these things.
I've been-
Many of
brother,
them were real leaders.
I've been Schultz. I've been to Africa. When a white person steps
Where in
out,
Africa?
I've been to Ethiopia. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to South Africa. Been to Zanzibar. And one thing I've noticed: whenever a white person steps out somewhere, black people there surround them, because they know that we live in a global system of white supremacy, and those are the people with the resources, and that's who I need
surround
to be around.
them. What do you mean?
So literally, surround them, like begging, surround them. Like, hey, who are you? What do you do?
So-
You got food, medicine, and this is
So
why
is that
African people
because-
are getting on ships and boats, floating over to Europe, because
Again,
those
so
are the
is-
people who have all the resources.
Is that okay? Just like you just said it right
Yes.
there. You just said it. Is that because they're white, or is that because they have resources?
Ah,
Do you see what I'm saying?
right.
They
Right.
want
Listen,
resources. So if
right,
a
right,
rich
right.
black guy
Right,
is
right.
walking through the streets of Zanzibar, I guarantee some black people are going to surround him going, "Hey, do you have some resources for me? I'd love some resources. That'd be great."
Right. So the resource thing. Why do white people have so many resources globally?
Well, not white people. White people don't. I mean, if we look at America, we see the intense poverty across America, the intense welfare state
where's
that
the
America has become.
Who has the majority
there
of the
are white
resources?
people that have
Who have the
resources.
majority of the global resources?
A very small percentage of 1% of the population that is
Right.
not reflective of if
Right.
if I blamed, or you or anybody blamed all black people for the actions of 1% of black people, right? You would call that racist or prejudice. But you have no problem blaming all white people for the actions of 1% of whites.
No. I've never said that. Let's be very clear.
I
I've
mean,
always said all white people
you
are
just
not
said it
white
right now.
supremacists. I never said that. No, I didn't. No, I never said that. All white people are not white supremacists.
I don't know if you
The
know what
white
you're saying.
supremacists are the most powerful people on the planet.
That's what we were talking about with Tariq earlier, because whenever he goes on a Tucker show, I always tell him I think that's dangerous because they try to paint him as a racist
Right.
instead of a person who's against white supremacy. I think it's a difference.
Right, but they just twist your words and use the "I'm white, not say so" narrative. So
Yeah.
no matter what I say, they're going to flip it and just say something else anyway. So that's "I'm white, not say so." I'm used to that.
All right. Let's pause this conversation with Tariq Nasheed to tell you that this episode of Brilliant Idiots is brought to Squarespace. Space is you, and it gives you a column no matter how online it's white.
Lucy and undeniable or is to prove white supremacy. Is
Okay.
what I think that
y'all are having here, that white supremacy exists.
No,
Right.
we agree that white supremacy is what I think that he does is often. I think he wants to prove white supremacy so much that he often loses or misses out or is blind to the real cause on some issues. On some issues, it's white supremacy, an undeniable fact, right? And on other issues, it might have nothing to do with white supremacy, but because you want to prove it so badly, you miss that.
And I want him to tell me what areas of activity that are not dominated by white supremacy.
We just proved it. Religion.
He said religion, and I just proved that religion is completely dominated by white supremacy.
You just proved that you know nothing about religion.
I just did.
Which religion, though? Which one are you talking
all
about?
Of them. All of them are dominated by white supremacy. Yeah.
We can't go back on this because we already proved it, but it's not even close.
We didn't. When there's black churches, white churches, it's definitely dominated by white supremacy.
Another thing that you said on the tax season podcast is you were talking about black feminists date white men, and it's because you said this is because of the Negro bed wench mentality.
I heard it too.
Yeah. And so what do you mean by that?
Well, the thing is, unfortunately, when you're a captive people, people can take advantage of you sexually and psychologically. And during slavery, they took advantage of sisters sexually, and black men too. A lot of black men were raped on these plantations by white males. So now that mentality, unfortunately, is somewhat still prevalent, where people in black society, captive people, feel like they have to be sexually submissive to those in the dominant white society. This goes with black women and black men, unfortunately.
Right. So, so to this point, I think there's another time where you're again blind to what the real issue is here. And I think
what's the real issue?
I think the real issue here is that third wave modern feminists, like this is the most recent form of feminism, which I agree with you in a lot of ways. I'm very critical of, and I think we share a lot of the same sentiments. These women, regardless of race, date emasculated men because that's the only way they can feel powerful. Now, emasculated men happen to be white more in America because in certain white groups in America, machismo or the pressure to be machismo or tough doesn't exist.
Did you just say white men are pussy?
Yeah.
In certain white groups. No, in certain. I say this on a podcast all the fucking time. We are creating pathetic individuals, but when I see certain white groups, they embrace how pussy they are, basically. And I think that's why you see white feminists dating them, black feminists dating them. You know, you see these really emasculated men. We're like, is this guy gay? Are they? I don't even understand. Are they best friends? I'm not even sure what it is. So I don't think this is a reflection of this Negro bedmensch mentality. I think it literally is, how do I feel powerful? I damn sure can't do that with a Tariq. I damn sure can't do that with a Charlemagne. I damn sure I can't do that with a Schultz. I'm going to get me a little pussy that I can walk all over and make me feel empowered.
I don't believe.
Yeah, you just said white men are pussy.
Yeah,
and black women are kind of pussy. I don't believe.
I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all because the mayor of New York, what's his name? De Blasio.
He's a pussy.
Yeah. You say he's a pussy. He's the mayor of damn New York. He's
so
a
what?
powerful guy.
He can still be a pussy.
His wife used to be a feminist. She used to be a black feminist back in the 70s. So yeah, he's not powerless. This man runs the city.
Why can't it just be love? Why can't it just be interracial couples? Why can't it just be a guy loves a girl or a girl loves a guy?
Well, ask him that question.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I don't know if you noticed, Tariq just said he has power. He runs the city. Earlier with Obama had no power. He was a puppet, and he was he was a president.
They didn't allow him to do nothing.
Yeah, they didn't allow him to do nothing. But not a mayor. He runs the whole city. He's got power. So again, I'm not gonna lie. This is the first time y'all doing this right here. It's been hard to get through it because it just ain't it, man.
Bars are not hot.
Boys, bars is not hot, man.
I'm just trying to get through the episode, man. So
y'all want to wrap it? Y'all okay? I want to finish. So we gonna finish it out. All right.
I mean, it's up to y'all. It's up to y'all. I'm looking fresh.
to your point earlier. Go ahead, Vulcan. This is what you.
Sorry, it's breaking up a little bit. You said you wanted to keep it going, or?
He wants you to read what's on the screen.
No,
I just this earlier. I know we want to make sure we're educating the people, so we're getting stuff put up. You can go into a short, concise.
Yeah, I'll just cover it. Compare, so I mentioned earlier about the quote about don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So when somebody's engaging in a conversation, they're bringing up situations saying, hey, look, things have gotten better, or it's not that bad. And somebody go, what do you mean it's not that bad? And they'll bring up a weakness, a point to show that it's not perfect, that it could be better. And so this is called the nirvana fallacy, which is comparing a realistic solution with an idealized one and discounting or even dismissing the realistic solution as a result of comparing to a perfect world or impossible standard, ignoring the fact that improvements are often good enough reason. So whenever Andrew Schultz is pointing out, hey, things have gotten better, we are making progress, Tariq is like, it's either all or nothing. That's the nirvana fallacy. The example they give, what's the point of making drinking illegal under the age of 21? Kids still manage to get alcohol. So just because it's not going to be a perfect solution, let's not come up with any solution at all. This is a very common fallacy, everybody. So understand, we cover these fallacies with y'all so y'all can understand that whenever you're having a conversation with somebody, you can arm yourself with this information. When you know somebody's wrong, you know somebody's point's not that good, but you're not exactly sure why. And if somebody you care about, you actually want to be able to show them how they're wrong. You're just saying, hey, you're wrong, that doesn't make any sense, isn't going to be good enough most of the time. They need to be convinced. They need something a little bit more substantial than I disagree. That's what this show is providing you, everybody. So audience, keep that in mind whenever you're watching this stuff. Take note of these fallacies, learn them. You'll be more of an expert on fallacies than us. The whole point of this show is not that we're the experts and listen to us. You can't get this anywhere but from us. We just want to be an embodiment of the quest to be as reasonable as possible. And when y'all watch what we do, I want y'all to understand that y'all can do it too. Y'all can even do it on a higher level. We want more Vulcans out there. Y'all mute,
That sounds like closing statements.
It don't have to be. We can keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep cooking. If y'all want to keep cooking, keep cooking. The only thing that stands out to me now, actually worth bringing up, is when Charlemagne lets it be known, like the reason why Andrew Schultz is doing this is because you called him a suspected white supremacist. That's the only part that to me is worth talking about at this point. But we can listen to it.
Fine, but he doesn't believe that's possible.
No, it's possible. But the thing is, when I see people,
you're in an interracial relationship, right?
No.
Your wife isn't.
Whoa.
Fox News, go ahead.
No, but is your wife not of mixed race?
Yeah, my wife is black. She's biracial, but she's black.
So she's half black, half what?
Yeah, half white.
Okay, so she's half black, half white.
Which is black.
Okay,
she's Barack Obama.
I've always said that.
She's J. Cole.
Yeah,
she's Drake.
I've always said that you can make that distinction. You can do that as well. But I mean
the system of white supremacy, they make that decision.
Sure, but technically, are you a Negro bedwench?
No, because I'm not with a white woman.
I mean, to some people, you might be.
When you
met her, ain't nothing wrong with being with a white woman.
You thought she was a black woman.
I knew she was a black woman. She said it.
Yeah, she's
her father.
Oh, he's black. He's black.
Oh yeah,
he's black. She's
if
black.
you come out the white pussy, you're white.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Listen, why did
I'm
you?
just saying,
what Schultz is really upset about? I don't know if y'all talked about this. He don't like being called a suspected white supremacist.
I don't like white supremacy. So let's get rid of white supremacy, and I won't suspect nobody of being a white supremacist.
Well, here's my issue. Here's my issue with the suspected thing.
Yes.
I think it's lazy. Because what it does is it gives a person the stigma of being a white supremacist without you actually doing the due diligence and research to find out if that person is. It's like saying someone's a suspected pedophile. It's like, well, I'm not going to let that person babysit. Even if that person has not been proven to be a pedophile, just suspected is enough for me to be like, get away from my fucking kids.
Now imagine that stigma magnified to our everyday lives. We are suspected of having a gun. We are suspected By whom?
Not by
the
me.
Pantaleos of the world.
But not by
we're
me.
the ones who are suspected of selling cigarettes illegally, and we're harmed by that.
Right.
We're suspected of robbing a store.
But not by me.
But by the white supremacists.
So
and I'm
that
not
gives
saying
you
you are.
permission
I'm
to
not
do it
saying
to
you
me?
are. I'm not saying you are. But you're not telling us who the white supremacists are, and I'm not calling you a white supremacist. But if you do something, I'm going to have to suspect you might be for my own safety.
It sounds like both of y'all don't want nobody generalizing.
Right.
So what I guess what I want to know is
so
you're
going to get a stigma, but I could possibly get killed out here for being a suspect. So that's the big difference, Joe. So let's remove white supremacy altogether, so nobody will be suspected of anything.
Do you agree two things can be wrong?
Like what do you mean?
Just two things can be wrong.
1,000 things can be
Killing
wrong.
somebody is wrong and rape is wrong.
Of course.
Both of those things are wrong.
Absolutely.
One doesn't negate the other.
Absolutely
right?
not.
It's not like I'm getting, this person over here is getting raped and you're like, yeah, but we're getting killed, so you need to shut up about your rape shit.
No.
That's what you're doing right now.
My argument.
You're basically saying, hey, listen, I'm allowed to call you a suspected white supremacist because, hey, I've been going through some fucked up shit.
Because I'm a victim of white supremacy. So it's my
you're
duty.
Just
it's my
free to call anybody who you don't have to do any research.
That is my own experience. When I say I suspect this person might be a white supremacist, that's my experience.
So what have I said that made you suspect that?
I don't. I've never called you a suspected white supremacist, by the way. I haven't called you that.
Tariq.
I haven't called you that.
Tariq.
I haven't. I want you to listen.
I've heard you say that.
People think that he.
Again, y'all. Again, this is another good example of a hasty generalization. We got to do better. Matter of fact, I'm not able to pull it up on the screen, but drawing a conclusion based on small sample size rather than looking at the statistics and are much more in line with the typical or average situation. Using that term, suspected white supremacists, exactly is a good example of what a hasty generalization is. Any thoughts on that, fellas?
No, I think you stated it pretty well. I mean, I don't have much to say about that.
All right.
I've heard you say.
I haven't really listened to Schultz.
Which is like he said, intellectual laziness.
But yeah, he's never directly.
And then he
I've never called you a suspected white supremacist. I've never, from what I've heard.
Yeah, you said that.
So you find pushing this rhetoric out there.
What rhetoric?
This suspected white supremacist. So what you've heard mean? I guess at what point
I've heard people tell people like Schultz is a white supremacist.
Okay, so I've heard people
so that's why I'm not going to call you one.
I've heard somebody say you're gay. Are you a suspected homosexual?
Well, you can't find a booty hole that I've had relations with, so that's easy.
So you can't find a person that I've had white supremacy towards.
But the thing is, what have you done to replace the system of white supremacy?
What have you done to not fuck booty holes?
I put my dick in my pants.
This is what. Go ahead, man.
This is embarrassing, y'all. This is embarrassing. Andrew Schultz is destroying this guy, cleaning his clock. But apart from that, every time that Tariq makes a point, Andrew Schultz makes the parallel point regarding alternative lifestyle.
Again, calling into this process. Go ahead, Vulcan.
That's the main thing. Is just that Tariq, every time that Tariq does an argument from ignorance. The suspected white supremacist, because I don't know if you are, I'm gonna call you that. It's debatable if it's really one because he's saying you're suspected. So it's like I'm putting that suspected in there so that I'm technically not calling you that. But in society, that's pretty much calling somebody that. He gets all Andrew Schultz with all the negative stigma that goes along with being white supremacists. You put a suspected white supremacist on him. It's like somebody. Well, I won't even go into that because I think he's going to go into it in the video. But
I think you already said it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just foul. A complete disregard for any type of empathy for somebody else when he says, hey, calling me a suspected white supremacist is lazy because you don't have to do any work. It's paranoia.
I don't know that.
You don't have to. I know it.
Yeah, but you know it, but I don't. You haven't proved it to me.
So
you could be fucking booty holes. I don't know.
But I'm not, so that's cool.
I never said you fucked him. Maybe you got fucked.
I know my booty hole is closed too.
But we don't know that.
I don't care if you don't know that.
That's why I said
my booty hole no.
Guys, we're not here to discuss gay rights. We're not here to discuss gay rights.
Schultz is really a lot on this dick and booty talk.
Absolutely. Welcome to White Boys. This is how white boys hang out, Tariq. Why do you think we're so emasculated? We talk about
You thought he was one of these white guys that like black?
That's
He's
what I
white.
thought. I'm like, God damn.
No, I'm the real fucking deal, baby.
He prefers
He
Asian
tried to
dick.
suck his own dick before. He's
Oh,
white.
God.
Come on now, who hasn't?
So listen, how do we get to a solution? 'Cause
Yes,
I feel like
yes.
we do
No,
need
but
to
this is
have-
important. I
Yes,
don't want
yes,
to get
yes,
away
yes.
from the suspected
Yes.
thing. I'm just saying I could go through and find people saying things that you say you're suspected of, which I think are unfair.
Mhm.
I would never put them out there. Even if I disagree with you on a million different things. And I've already said to you, and I mean this sincerely, I think you're incredibly talented.
Mhm.
I mean this sincerely. I would never put those things out there because I haven't done the work. I have a certain amount of integrity. I haven't done the work to find out if you
But the
are
thing
these
is, Schultz,
things.
man, we live in a system where black people are getting executed out here in the streets.
What does that
So
have to do
we
with me
need to know
being called a suspected white supremacist? That doesn't
I
give you
never called
permission.
that, but
Just
we
because you've
need to
been through
know
something.
who's the white supremacist? Nobody's telling
Okay,
us who
if
the white
I'm born
supremacists
with
are.
if I'm born with terminal cancer, does that mean that I can do whatever I want?
Nobody's
because I have
telling us
terminal
who
cancer?
the white supremacists are. We're going to have to suspect somebody of being a white supremacist in a system
So I'm
of
a
white
casualty
supremacy.
of a dice game. So
You're not.
So
You're not. I'm not calling you
you're
white
basically
supremacist, bro.
stop and frisk with white supremacy. You believe in stop and frisk.
We have to, as victims
believe
of
in
white
stop and
supremacy,
frisk.
we need to know who's a potential white supremacist, who might
You
harm
sound
us.
a lot like
when
the cops.
when we
need
walk,
to find out who's shooting people. So
but
we're going to
not
stop
shooting
everybody.
cops. We're not killing cops with impunity.
But
We're not
people
killing.
were shooting people
we,
in New
we
York.
just need to know who might victimize us. That's all we need to do.
Generalizations are dangerous all across the board.
Right.
That's all I'm hearing in this
Right.
conversation.
But real talk, I mean, you're doing stop and frisk with
That's all
what
you hear?
suspected white supremacists, and it's the same thing now. Suspected white now that it might be effective. Stop and frisk was very effective. I mean, and if you really want to look at who stop and frisk was targeting, which was Latinos and blacks, there was a 6-month period from like January to June in New York City where Latinos and blacks were responsible for 98% of a gun.
But that's nation. We're always suspect of something. We're always being suspected. of something. If we walk in a store, people
not
following
suspected.
us.
Not
We're
suspected.
always suspected.
They were
of something,
98%
and it's
of
very
the people who
dangerous for us.
committed those crimes, right? So when they were only being targeted at 80%, the actual people who were being targeted too much were the Muslims, were the Asians, were the white people who didn't have anything to do with that gun crime in that period, right?
The bottom line,
they were
we are
unfairly
suspected
targeted.
for almost everything.
My
When
point
black
is-
people walk in somewhere, we're suspected of
I'm
stuff,
not-
and we're punished oftentimes by
Sure.
people's suspicions.
So-
So when we look at other
Yeah.
people and say, okay, that person incorrect, that's not reverse racism,
Right.
that's us being cautious. That's all it is.
So what you're saying, you're justifying your racism through racism.
You cannot be a racist if you are a powerless person. Racism is systematic. Outside of name calling, tell me what racism can black people practice and get away with?
Charlemagne can practice racism right now. Charlemagne can decide that he doesn't want to hire people that are Asian for his many shows. Oprah can practice racism. Barack Obama can practice racism.
But
And
you're proving his point though, because we're in positions of power. He said the powerless.
I know. But you think because he's black that black people don't have power. I think that's the most racist idea right there. I think the fact that you look at black people as powerless is incredibly racist and crippling to black mentality.
You said what, Vulcan?
So Charlemagne is terrible.
Yeah.
I think he knows the points he's making. He's just trying to, like, I guess, what they call it,
give a middle ground. He's trying to save Tariq
middle
Nasheed.
ground. Harmonize. That's what I want to use the word harmonize.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely right. Get the ground because he said because Tariq makes the point about the power thing, but you didn't have power to be racist. And then Tariq goes, well, Charlemagne has power, and he goes, Tariq's talking about the power. Tariq's talking about the powerless though. No, that's just proof of his point. He's saying that you're a black person with power. You can discriminate against people based off of race if you want to, and that's a disproof of Tariq's point. But Charlemagne doesn't take that out of it. He goes, no, Tariq's talking people who don't have power. I'm like, come on, Charlemagne, keep up with the conversation.
Got something fresh?
Nah. It's a reiteration.
Like we almost done, y'all.
I think it's really wrong.
So me and Charlemagne, we can not hire Asian people, and that's racist?
If you're doing it specifically because you don't want to hire Asians, yeah, you have the power to do that. You're a person of power. You have
that's
economic.
discrimination.
Now,
You're
first of all, not only is that discrimination. Now, furthermore,
but are black people doing that? I mean, you're talking about a hypothetical thing. I'm saying, show me where black people are even in a position to hire a lot of Asian.
His whole argument's been hypothetical up until this point.
Yeah.
It's like, show me.
Schultz gives. So first it's black people can't be racist. Then he says, well, Charlemagne has power. And I remember this being around during college, dealing with this stuff. Same concept. Black people can't be racist. And now he says, okay, blacks can't be racist because they don't have any power. They don't have any power to affect anybody. Well, Charlemagne cannot hire somebody because they're Asian. And then he goes, if we don't hire somebody, we don't hire not Asian, we're racist. So he straw mans Andrew Schultz's point. Andrew Schultz said, if you don't hire somebody basically because of their race, it's racism. You have power, you can discriminate. If you're gonna accept this power as a part of, it's integral part of the definition of racism, then okay, he has power, he's black, he cannot hire somebody because they're Asian. And then Tariq goes, so if I don't hire somebody that's Asian, I'm racist, or which is a straw man of his point, right? And then when Andrew Schultz and Charlemagne go, yeah, that is prejudice, that is racist, then he goes, it's a hypothetical situation. Where black people actually doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Show me where they're doing that.
I'm not taking no L's, man. I'm not taking no L's. I just moved to the next point. You're hitting a moving target. Andrew Schultz hit the moving target.
Yeah, I want to encourage the audience, try to define your terms, use the Socratic method if you can. I mean, you can use the Socratic method. I want to encourage the audience to do that. Define the terms in the beginning. What is I wish Andrew Schultz would have did actually define what a racist is or what it means by the textbook definition. So because I think they have two different definitions of what racism means and what a racist is.
Absolutely.
People.
I just showed you two.
I would say, real quick, if you're poor, white, right?
Now, if your point is that you need economic power to oppress, so all those poor white people, poor white people that vote for Trump, there must not be racist.
Group power, and the economics comes with them aggregating small amounts of money.
Okay.
See, we don't have that group power.
Why
we don't
not?
have that. We don't because
black
of white
people shift
supremacy.
elections.
Black
people shift entire elections
with their numbers, but not with their money.
You just said group power.
No, Tariq, I can show you where racism is dangerous to a powerless people. Like I'm from South Carolina.
Yeah.
So if I go to one of these white trailer parks with a bunch of poor and disenfranchised people, regardless of how much money I got, if they're racist against me, it could be a dangerous situation.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. Because
that's anybody.
You can't have two supremes.
You can't be white and go to South. No matter how much money you got.
Yeah, all he said. This was Charlemagne. No matter how much money I got, I go to certain places that were racist against me. It could be a problem. All you gotta do is reverse that. I'm a white man. I could be like, I'm a white man with money. If I go to a place and people want to hurt me because of my race, it's gonna be a problem. So all he just did, he just gave a hypothetical where obviously there's a problem. You know what I'm saying? If I get in the ocean with a shark and the shark wants to eat me, it's gonna be a problem. I mean, that's all he just did. He just created a scenario where there's a problem and it's gonna be a problem. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious.
Definitely a problem, but him implying that race can only be is only a thing that white people can do against others is not accurate.
There's no such thing as black supremacy. That's a contradiction of terms. Supreme means no higher than, end all, be all. Mm-hmm. So you have white supremacy, and supreme means I can kill you ultimately and do it with impunity. That's all it means at the end of the day.
Sure.
And the only people who can do that to us are the white supremacists. We
pause it right there. You know, I mean, and I'm gonna give a hypothetical scenario. You know, this thing right here, I don't even go that far. If the whites run the world, as he says, the white supremacists, run the world. And we go to Asia, where blacks are being discriminated against for being black in Asia. Are they practicing white supremacy? Are they practicing racism? Because he said to be supreme, you got to be the highest power. So what is it called when Asians are doing it to us? If it's still racism, then what is it? The supreme part matter then?
What is it called when white people are in Africa?
Yeah.
But Tariq is using white supremacy as a synonym for racism. That's what I'm saying. They're not really defining the terms. They gotta do a better job on that. A lot of times we all I speak for myself. Sometimes we get caught up in arguing and debating for hours at a time, and nobody has defined any terms. So, yeah. So, are they acting racist towards each other, or is it white supremacy? You know, so.
can't do that to anybody else.
Right.
Manson
So
was a black supremacist.
You define. He just didn't know any white guys.
$400 billion. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So you define power now. It's not in terms of economics. Before it was economics, but you've shifted your argument to saying it's just killing someone and getting away with it.
No. I didn't shift the argument. I'm just telling you what supreme
Well,
means.
we debunked your economic theory, so
No,
now
you
you're going into
No,
murdering.
you didn't.
We absolutely.
How did you debunk my
because
economic
you
theory?
have economic power. I'm assuming this is just me assuming that you have economic power.
Who, me as an individual?
You as an individual.
Right.
To read
No,
the
I
sheet.
don't. I'm just a black person with a couple of dollars. But
Fine.
I don't have economic
Charlamagne
power.
has economic power.
A powerless black. Listen,
He has the ability to
I'm-
hire. He has the ability to staff entire television shows. He has the ability to staff writing rooms.
Listen, that's
He
a
has the
part of it.
ability-
But if I'm a powerless black
Staff
person,
radio
a powerless
rooms.
A
black
white person is not going to suffer if I don't hire him. Let's be very real.
But
An
to-
Asian person ain't going to suffer if I don't hire him.
but-
Black people, we
Black
have
people
to.
aren't
for
going
the-
to suffer if he doesn't hire them either.
Those
But
four-
we're going to have to go to some white person to
Listen,
hire us. For the most part, very few of us have economic independence, unfortunately, in the system of white supremacy. We go
Very
over
few
that
white
hump.
people have economic independence.
Oh, please.
Let me ask you a question.
Absolutely.
That's
Very
not true.
few white people have independence. Do you
Well,
know how poor white people are?
Who has all the wealth in the country?
Didn't you grow up in the middle of the country?
20% though.
Yeah, but still,
That's
that
1%.
1%.
But that's the 1%. So you're
That
defining
1%
all
is it.
white people by the 1%. Do you see how your arguments keep falling apart?
No, that 1%, they
You're
control the
shifting-
wealth and the
yeah, but what
resources
you're
in this
doing is
country,
you're
and black
taking-
folks are still under that thumb. We still have to go to that
So
1%.
are poor white people. Those poor white people who lost their houses in that mortgage crisis.
Right.
They were taken advantage by the exact
And
same
they have
1%.
no problem voting for Trump as long as he's going to keep the Negroes down just a little
They
bit further.
voted for Trump for the same reason why black people who voted for Barack Obama voted for Trump, because they want jobs, and they are anti-establishment votes. This election was not about racism; it was about anti-establishment.
That's what- now, come on, now, when you at the rally yelling nigga, go back to
every
Africa.
election, every
Come on,
election,
dude.
every election is going to be about. There are going to be a certain amount of people that are doing
Trump's
it for
whole
racist issues.
Trump has had a
Every
career
single
of
one.
practicing white supremacy against black people, man.
Here's a question, Trick.
What
The
I'm
four-
saying is
the
there are
four
black
brothers in
people who
Chicago. Hold on a
voted
second, hold on a
for him.
second. The 4 people in Chicago, they were all powerless.
Yeah.
But that is a prime example of powerless people still practicing racism.
Which is
couldn't
this?
keep- in Chicago, where they tortured the white
Oh, they
dude.
kidnapped the kid. Yeah.
But they beat the guy up, but
Yeah,
that was
they
just
beat him
that
up.
was
They said, "Fuck white people, fuck Donald
and
Trump."
that was just name calling. They beat the dude up, and after they beat him up, their asses went to jail less than 24 hours. Got
As they
charged with
should've.
hate crimes. Right.
As they should have.
Where's the racism? Because racism is systematic. There was no system that protected
no.
them.
Racism
there was
is
no
not
union.
systematic.
It is
That's a
systematic.
change
Look
of
at
the
the
de-
word.
that's the
Look at
change
the
of
word
the definition.
racism. Ism is systematic.
Racism is
Racism is
if we look
systematic.
it up, racism is
It's a
prejudice based on race.
a system.
No,
that's prejudice
system-
based on
no,
race.
No, system is
That's
something
why
that was
outside-
added
outside
into
of-
it in the last 5 years.
Outside
so that
of
people
name
can push a
calling, we don't
narrative.
get away with being racist to
There's
nobody.
a difference between name calling and violence. These
Right.
people were
We don't
violent
get
and
to
they
be
kidnapped
violent,
somebody.
and they got punished immediately.
Absolutely,
where
they
white
should.
people who
They should.
practice racism, they can punish us and walk around free, and nothing happens to them.
That's not true.
That's a good point.
No, that's not true.
What do you mean that's
Listen,
not true?
you're
What
saying-
happened to Pantaleo? The person who killed Eric Garner, the person who killed Tamir Rice, the person who killed Freddie Gray.
So you're giving me 4 examples.
I can give more. I can just be here all day.
So you're giving me
I can give you several
four popular
examples.
examples.
I can give you several examples of that happening
When
over and
we've
over again.
already-
Walter Scott. I can go on and on and on
Sure,
and on.
sure.
And on.
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman.
Been a lot.
All of them.
Okay.
I mean, throughout history. I mean,
All right,
especially
right.
here in New York.
I mean,
Right.
we can go back to the lynchings and all that. None of them got
we're
punished.
familiar with these examples.
Right.
But they've done studies. There was a Harvard professor that did this study.
Okay.
Black Harvard professor that did this study.
Don't matter. He token. Okay, go ahead.
I know he's
I hate when
because
people
you
try
just-
to point out
you
somebody's
disagree
black.
with him and he's
I
token.
hate when they say he's black, so that means he's about to maintain white supremacy. You
The
get some
reason
black
why I
person
say
to, okay, go ahead.
why I say he's black is because he saw this he saw this incredible racial injustice with all these black people being killed by the police,
Mhm.
and he was a economics professor. So what he decided to do is take it upon himself to prove systematically and statistically that this was happening to black people beyond a shadow of a doubt. And his research showed that black people were harassed more by the cops, pushed up against walls more by the cops, handcuffed more by the cops at a higher percentage, and spoken disrespectfully during these interactions at a higher percentage than black people. But when it came to being killed by the cops, white people were killed more by the cops than black people, even in situations where the cops had the right to shoot, by 18%.
The
Now,
reason why, Schultz, is because more white people kill police officers. And not only that,
wait, what?
more white people kill police
No,
officers.
now
Last year alone,
now you're talking about numbers.
71% of the police officers that were shot by white males.
Yes.
So more white people kill cops. So yeah, cops
What
are going to
percentage
shoot.
of white people are there in the country?
What 80%? What
70%. So they're right on par. They shot the exact amount of cops they're supposed to.
Exactly. So why are they killing? So why are they killing? Horrible. So why unarmed black people getting killed when you have the people over here, the white supremacists of white people shooting you the most?
Yeah,
and also you have the Cliven Bundys and all these people who would take up arms against law enforcement for months at a time, and these people don't get punished.
And the reverse of that argument, the reverse of that argument is also, if it's more white people, then black people shouldn't be getting harassed more by the cops.
Right. And like I got a roll too, by the way.
No. I didn't say, I said they were getting harassed at a higher percentage. The point is, the point about the shooting was there's this untrue narrative that is being put out there that you are supporting right now. This
What's
idea
untrue? What is it?
That cops are killing black people at a higher rate than they're killing white people. They're not. They're killing white people at a higher percentage that they're killing black people.
But they are not unarmed white people. They're not unarmed white people. They're not unarmed white people. Schultz. Also, the FBI put out
Let me just finish and I give it to you. Let me finish. I give it to you. Let me just finish. I give it to you.
Okay.
They're not only are white people being killed at a higher percentage than black people by the cops.
Who are not unarmed, but go ahead.
Armed black people who the cops had 100% right to shoot because they were armed or they're attacking the cop are still killed at a lower percentage than white people.
The FBI put out a memo in 2006 stating,
you should look it up. Harvard and Washington Post.
The FBI put out a memo stating that white supremacist organizations, they've infiltrated law enforcement. They were warning people of this in 2006.
This has been around for a while, though.
Right. Right. Do you think that doesn't have any bearing on black people getting killed disproportionately who are unarmed?
So what you do is when you do one of these studies,
that's a
no.
And I'll
tell you.
So Tariq, Andrew Schultz makes a point. Tariq jumps from the point that Andrew Schultz makes, and it just goes to the FBI thing. This is crazy.
Doesn't even address it.
Doesn't even address it. I'm just gonna come up with my own example. This is embarrassing.
Can we even call black intellectual anymore?
That's a good question. That's a good question. What's the bars? What's the standard for a black intellectual? Do we hold them at the same standards as white intellectuals?
Can we
hold them to the same standard?
Yeah. Because he said, can we consider him a black intellectual anymore? Well, I don't think we can consider him as an intellectual. So,
okay, I'll say that.
For me, there's got to be good and bad intellectuals, right? So,
okay, that's better. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm more can define intellectual not in your ability to be intellectual so much as what type of conversations do you traffic in. You know, if you're talking about what we consider to be intellectual conversations and you like to have a more rigorous conversation and end up looking to it, then I would probably consider you to be an intellectual, regardless of if it's something you enjoy doing and you do it regularly, you get paid to do it, you do it regularly, you make, whatever it is you're doing. If you're trafficking in that type of content, then I'd probably consider you an intellectual because it's considered intellectual conversation, in polite company. So, I would probably consider him an intellectual.
Doing it poorly?
Huh?
You're just saying he's doing it poorly?
He speaks really well.
Maybe he speaks so well.
He's just illogical. The thing about it is he's just illogical. So it's.
But can you be I guess you can. You could be an intellectual without trafficking in logic and reason.
It's tough because we have to establish a definition of intellectual. It's like I said, I'd probably just say loosely speaking, just in general, it's somebody who enjoys talking about conversations that we generally consider to be intellectual conversations, politics. Most of the isms that we're discussing. If you're talking about that stuff often, people bring you on to speak about those things. People value your perspective on those types of things. He definitely fits the bill when it comes to that. People bring him in to talk about it. People consider him to be a very learned individual. So he's intellectual. He's a black intellectual, whether we like it or not.
That's fair.
Whack 100 brought him on Adam 22's show for a reason.
Yeah, that's fair. We can say that.
So,
Because what you do when you do these
white
studies,
supremacy denial.
Well, again, just because I disagree with you, you can't just say white supremacy. Maybe you should hear what I have to say, and then you can disagree.
It's kind of, I might not say so, though, Schultz. That's the thing, though.
No, I'm telling you no.
Then you throw out a bunch of.
I'm telling you no, but I'm
Well,
telling you
okay.
specifically why.
We got to wrap this up soon. So let's finish the final point.
So,
Go ahead.
So, what you do when you do a statistical analysis at that level, when you're one of these like Harvard institutions, is you adjust for all these types of variables, right? You don't just do one police precinct, you do 1,000 police precincts across the country. And when you do that, you get a diverse enough group and a diverse enough information that will offset these variables. I mean, statistical analysis at this level is done to make sure and ensure that you're not going to have these biases infiltrated. Is it 100% accurate? Absolutely not. You'll have maybe a 90% accuracy rate with a standard deviation of, a few percent, right? So within like 2 standard deviations of the mean, you'll be accurate. Right?
Translation: Black people get killed by these suspected white supremacist race soldiers, and we got these stats to justify why we do it. That's all you just said.
You're just
Schultz.
being lazy, dude.
That's not lazy.
You're smarter than
What you're
this.
trying to do
That's
is
what
mental.
bothers me,
You're
dude.
trying to do
It
verbal
bothers me
gymnastics,
that you're
Schultz.
that you're smarter than
that's verbal gymnastics you're
All
trying
I'll
to
say
do.
is
Well,
this.
the variables of the percentage shows that disproportionate numbers
just
of the
because
rate.
you don't understand it doesn't mean it's verbal
gymnastics.
To you,
that's all it is.
To other people,
what you
just
said
watch
makes
it.
0 sense.
It's because you don't understand.
You think
statistics.
I don't catch what you're saying? See, a lot of Black folks, they hear a white guy say a bunch of numbers and all of these 4-syllable words, and they think this is a deep white man. What you said was completely full of shit.
So
and you're my dude. Now, I'm not saying that to be disrespectful.
I don't think
I know it's full of shit.
I think you're saying
a lot of folks don't know. But the point is,
so yeah.
According to the FBI, I'm going back to the point. I make it very simple. I like to make it very plain. They've said that white supremacist organizations, they've infiltrated law enforcement. There's books out talking about how they were going to infiltrate law enforcement and target Black people.
Sure.
There's emails and phone records and text records showing that there are white supremacists in these precincts targeting Black people. It comes out almost every other month.
Sure.
Black people are being targeted and harmed because they know that they're not going to be punished if they do so. And not only will they not be punished, these race soldiers are being rewarded for harming Black people. It's just that simple. We can do the verbal gymnastics, but I like to keep things very plain. I like to look at the raw numbers. The raw numbers is that very rarely do white males go to jail.
Statistic.
Go to jail.
That's not a number.
I'm just making it plain. I'm just making it plain for the cheap seats.
Bullshit.
I'm making it plain for the cheap seats.
You bullshit it.
Well, the variables of the inconclusive evidence of I'm making it very plain. Show me.
You can Google all this stuff.
You can Google. Show me the large numbers of white.
Give me one number.
Hell, just give me a large number. I'm giving
number.
Give me a number of large numbers of white people going to jail for killing Black people in law enforcement.
Give me a number, Tariq.
Who are the white people going to jail for killing Black people, especially unarmed Black people? You're asking for specific names. That's not numbers. Give me a name. Okay? That's making it very plain. Show me
what creates
who
an
are
answer.
so every person killed by a white person.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I need facts, brother. I need numbers. I need metrics.
And it's justified
because your argument is lazy.
So is every Black person killed by a white person?
Not.
So why do they not go to jail, Schultz? Why
they do.
Who?
You're assuming that they don't.
Who?
There are
them,
people
Schultz.
that go to jail
Schultz,
all the time.
Name them.
You're speaking about police officers specifically?
Yeah, let's do specifically cops.
Gotcha.
So I want you to just give me one statistic. You haven't given me one number all day.
You're trying to give it back to me. I'm asking you something. I'll give you.
Give me a number.
Give me a name.
Give me a name
of
to
white
back up
people
what you're saying.
Who are police officers going to jail killing unarmed Black people.
I've given you better than one name. I've given you a statistical analysis across
the whole
country.
Let's make it. My education level is kind of slow. I just need to break it down.
You're a smart dude. I know you're a smart dude.
I dropped out of school.
I know.
Just give me a name.
I don't care about school.
I'm good on names.
I don't care about school.
I didn't do good at math. Just give me a name.
I need a number.
All right, we're talking. We're just talking past each other at this point.
Now,
but
I gotta go.
I know. Listen, I really appreciate you coming by.
Indeed.
I'm being dead serious with it, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I mean this. I'm being dead serious. I've said this a couple times. I think you're incredibly gifted at communicating. Sir. I fucking mean that.
Yeah.
I really wish that you put more of an effort in terms of compiling these arguments and getting statistical backups for these arguments and proving them because. Dude, I'm not joking. I'm being dead serious. I talk about Charlemagne like this. I think he's an unbelievable communicator. Probably the most talented person I've ever worked with.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of your ability to communicate, you're up there, dude. I just think you're being lazy with these arguments because you're so good and you're
Schultz,
not competing with anybody.
You
and I
have
want
to get
you
out
to
of white
put the work
supremacy
in.
denial.
What's your final thoughts, Tariq?
Schultz, he has to get out of white supremacy denial. That whole denial of white supremacy, that's very dangerous. Black folks don't need to fall for that. It's bad for white society as well. We shouldn't have a system of white supremacy at all.
I agree.
That shit should be alleviated. So you should be one of the people on the forefront calling that shit out when you see it instead of trying to disprove white supremacy. Let us know who the white supremacists are. That's all I have to say.
All right, I'm going to CC you.
Oh, yes.
My man, Tariq.
Yes,
thank you, my brother.
All right. All right, fellas. All right. Yeah, so tune in another episode. Any thoughts? Disagreements? Agreements? You on mute, Vulcan. I just say this before Vulcan can say anything. And Fresh, again, a man of science is a poor philosopher. One of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein. Like I said, just take the word science out of it. we might can say black. I don't want to get canceled, but black people, we're probably very poor at philosophizing. What's a philosopher? One who tends to, they are thinkers, but to slightly, I ain't gonna say slightly, engage in study of fundamental questions and existence and knowledge of values, reason, mind, and language. So we gotta do a better job at that. Or I want to say this. I have this quote. Many people may have a misunderstanding of critical thinking, that it means doubting everything, criticizing everything, and seizing on the minutiae of other people's words to attack them, but it's not like that. According to the books, definition of critical listening and reading means systematically evaluating everything you hear and see. Critical thinking can help you distinguish right from wrong and become a clear-minded, tolerant, and humble person. It means it may seem that critical thinking is not difficult, but it's hard to practice consistently in life and constantly acquiring and processing vast amount of information, whether it's learning, socializing, work, or entertainment. However, our brains are inherently lazy and limited. Faced with such vast amount of information, they are prone to laziness and constrained by certain thought habits. These laziness and limitations can easily deceive our rationality without us even realizing it. So, like I said, I've been there. Shout out to Dr. Claus. Shout out to the guys in our community that wanted to see change within the Black community, especially on the political level. I've been to these lectures. From my experience, I noticed that we don't question a lot of these leaders. We don't question their intentions. We don't actually debate them. One of my favorite quotes is better to debate an idea for simply, no, I don't even want to mess that quote up. I do that after one of y'all talk, I'm look it up. But we don't actually really debate and try to really find what the solutions are at times. When I go to these events, a lot of us, especially Black people, are harmonizing people. So we embrace a lot of people that's provoking a lot of our thoughts and ideas and what we should do as a culture or as a race, and we don't actually question a lot of their arguments, testing it. Are these good arguments? Are these bad arguments? I think we could do a better job of that. This is, in my opinion, that this show could definitely provide empowerment. If you can control how you think, you can make that better better decisions, and you'll be able to point out good versus bad arguments. Anything from y'all?
I'll say for me, my closing comment is I thank y'all for joining us today on this show, taking a journey through the Tariq and Andrew Schultz conversation. It was riddled with all types of fallacies and attacks at what you consider ad hominem attacks. I just want the audience to recognize that, you know, there's a moral component to this stuff. You know, when we're talking about critical thinking, it has to do with doing things the right way, being fair-minded. If I'm having a conversation with somebody, obviously, you know, I can't keep cutting them off. They can't make their point. I can't make their point what I want their point to be. Their point is what they made their point to be, and it's my job to address their point as what they said it was. So when you see people that are lacking the critical component, when you see people that are using these different fallacious argumentations against somebody, think about it from an empathetic standpoint. Like, is this the person who has the moral high ground? Is this somebody who has everybody's best intention at heart? Or is this person cutting corners and scheming and cheating to try to win? Is that the kind of role model we want for our children? That's the kind of role model we want for our adults. So that's my issue with a lot of this stuff. Is this is not just ivory tower, you know, intellectualism. It's not just about fancy, long, extended words with a multi-syllabic. That's cool. It's fun. It's empowering at times. But at the end of the day, there's a moral component to this. So just ask yourself when you listen to people, like, this person have our best interests at heart. If they don't, then we need to hold them to the fire. We need to mark those people. We need to make it clear to everybody around us that this person is not somebody in our community we need to aspire to be like, or have mentor the people that's coming up. So that's my closing comments.
Fresh, you got something?
Yeah, this is probably one of the worst examples that I've seen of what Tariq Nasheed is doing. I'm metering my comments because I don't want to appear like a hater. I want to say what I want to say in a clear and concise way. He presents his arguments. He cannot logically them. When you cannot logically defend your argument or your stance, you are asking the audience to essentially believe it because you said it. If you don't have any basis, if you don't have any real substance to your argument, if your argument is surface level and it falls apart anytime someone asks more than surface level questions about it, you're asking the audience to just believe it because you said it, and it's not what our people or any people should be doing. The reason what he's asking the black people to do, right? And he just showed you. Anyone that challenged him, I really, really hate that it took a white person to challenge him in this way, because it was very easy for him to eschew it, to dust it off as white supremacy by Andrew Schultz. I really, really would have been a black person, one of us or someone similar to us, who would have challenged Tariq Nasheed on those things, so he wouldn't have that crutch of white supremacy to lean on, because that is what he is offering white supremacy as to black people. He never once offered in every way. He essentially said white supremacy is something that we can't escape. When he said, when you have the group power, okay, white people are much group in America than black people. He's saying, listen, there's nothing we could do about it. It just is what it is. He says, I want to get rid of white supremacy so many times in this, and he never once says how. He's essentially, he doesn't even know who the white supremacists are. He's essentially hoping, and this is specifically for my black people. When someone like Tariq Nasheed is saying get rid of white supremacy without any sort of action behind it, he's hoping that white supremacists feel bad about it and just fix it for us. Hey, white supremacists, what you're doing, it's wrong. You should feel bad that you're doing the wrong thing, and you should remove yourself from power so we can all be happy. He's not living in the real world. That's not the world that we live in.
Facts.
The world we live in is, despite what we want, we want. The world we live in is governed by facts, rules, and standards, and metrics exist. These are things that you can prove, that you can substantiate, that you can have in your hand to say, this is real. Fix this. Here's a problem. This is real. Vulcan says this all the time. You cannot manage what you can't measure. That's a very, very strong point, because when we're looking at our black leaders, right? If we consider Tariq Nasheed a black leader, he's not giving you any manageable metrics. He's not giving you, as a people audience, any way to fix this problem. He's just saying it exists.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he's presenting it as a problem that can't be fixed. So he offers as a crutch for whatever behavior, whatever we do, it's not our fault. White supremacy. Well, how do you fix white supremacy? You can't. It's white supremacy.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a ridiculous thing, and I'm not familiar with Tariq Nasheed, so I hadn't seen it before. I was not aware that there were people out here doing it to this level. Like I seen Dr. Umar.
You in that bubble? Come out that rap battle circuit, man. You in the bubble,
listen, man. Honest with you, I have to protect my energy and my brain, because this type of stuff makes me angry.
Sure.
Whatever, and I don't. This is just between us,
and the audience,
the world and the audience. Yes, the world that I live in, the real world that I live in. I can't afford to be an angry black man. Really, none of us can. Right?
Yeah.
I'm raising a young black son. I can't give him angry black man energy to use.
Irrational angry black man.
Correct. Which is even worse, because I understand certain things. I can look deeper and look at the nuances of things and see certain things. The problem is I can define those things. I can identify those things and gather information on them. In the converse, if I can't properly identify, if I can't prove those things, then I won't bring them up. I won't offer them to the public as a fact, because it's not something that can be proved. It could just be me, whatever I want to say, because I know that you are you believe it's a fallacy. I'm offering something I know you already feel in order to keep you riled up and in the dark. I hate this for our people. Please look at these things with a logical and reasonable eye. I'm not saying he's wrong about what he's saying. Should we follow him? Should we listen to him? Should we adhere to what he's saying when he's actually not saying anything?
Exactly. Like I said, we're not saying you're wrong. We're just not convinced that the argument that you presented is actually the best argument. This is what the show is about. Look, listen, personal testimony. I've been there. I was one of those guys that was in underneath or subscribed to what they call the Black app. So, or / wokeism / whatever. So we got to vet and question a lot of the ideas that's in our head to make sure that we are making the best and most rational decisions and being reasonable when we enter to these conversations. So yes, I've been there. Want to encourage we could do better. Like I said, the show is in my opinion, the true Black empowerment, where we actually enhance your intellect so you can make better decisions and better give you tools to analyze what you're watching and what you're hearing. So yeah, again, this is a platform, like I said in the beginning, where new ideas and diversity of thought are highly encouraged. Thank you for joining us as we dive into the science of analyzing and evaluating our current chaotic information age. Our goal is to equip y'all with essential critical thinking tools that will enhance and develop our intellectual virtues, intellectual integrity, intellectual humility, empathy, and confidence in reason and logic. So, tune in. Another episode, another show. I think it's Thursday, same time, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. to 9:15 Central Standing Time. Thursday show is a little bit more fun. We on the Tuesday shows, we really dive in and really are very tedious with some of these episodes we're covering, but we have a little bit more fun, get into the more I just say more
Pop
fun
culture.
topic. Yeah, culture. Well, this is culture, but just topics that we're not being
Pop
very
culture, popular culture.
yeah, popular culture. We could say that. So until next time, Thursday, 9 o'clock to 9:15. Tune in. The Vulcan Soapbox.
Vulcan arm was shaking. I seen it. He held that salute for too long.
Yeah.